This episode is brought to you by our lovely sponsors, Pawtion, an all-natural single-protein dog food snack company. Go to pawtion.com.au. Muscle Talks 25 as a code to get 25% off your first order. Muscle Talks 10 to get 10% off continued orders. Also, our premium Australian supplement company, but let me tell you, they're with a lot of different type of supplements, but yes, they're protein and pre-workout range, but also plenty more to go and see and find out. Go to primabolics.com.au and use discount code generous one Muscle Talks 15 for 15% off. And I'll tell you a little bit more about our candles that we will be displaying and showing off soon. You're like Pitbull. You're Mr. Worldwide for some reason.
Yeah, well, I mean, the one thing that Ben Weider told me to be a missionary for bodybuilding, right? And you go around and spread the gospel. And I got that from Joe and Ben. These are the guys that founded bodybuilding. Yeah. And you find something you love, you never work a day in your life. I had enough people that were behind me. I think we had 22 or 23 guys that I felt, all right, I felt pretty accomplished. Like even though I was off, I was able to beat them. So what happens when I'm on? Some of the judges I didn't like. Some of them I thought were crooks. Some of them I thought shouldn't be judges. You know, so I said it. I didn't care. Look, I was suspended. I had prize money taken away from me. I was overlooked. I've been ignored. So in retirement, what do I have to be afraid of? I wasn't on anyone's payroll. So I just said what I wanted to say. I think I gained some respect doing that, and other people benefited because of that. I was introduced by a professional bodybuilder who looked like an alien. Obviously, my story's well known. If you followed me, you know that John Brown, former two-time Mr. Universe, three-time Mr. World, is the one that showed me the way. And that song is like 3.5 minutes long. Like I think they only give you a minute to pose nowadays, but I posed for like 3.5 minutes. I didn't mean to miss a beat from the first beat to the end of that song. I wound up in 5th place. I thought I was going to get 3rd. It was a contest I was getting ready for that I almost thought I wasn't going to make. I had injured my hamstring about 3 weeks out from the show, and I thought I was never going to be able to make it to the stage. I look at that one and I go, how the hell did I pull that off?
8 Olympia wins. Like, how do they get there again? How can it ever happen?
I don't think we will get there again. There's some things that we're just not going to see. We're just lucky we saw them. We're lucky we lived in an age where we could actually see it. Most of these bodybuilders don't even have an 8-year career. So to win the Olympia 8 times is just it's not going to happen. When you say it's not going to happen, it's probably not going to happen. The body just is not built for what the guys are doing to it.
He turned up in style in his Mercedes-Benz, loved his hot skins, made Tony Braxton's evening, got into a Prince concert free. Those were the days. To accomplish great things, we must first dream, then visualize, then plan, believe, and act. Most featured guy on the cover of Flex magazine. No plan B.
No plan B.
Consecutive 12 Mr. Olympians, a record surpassed by none, and all in the top 5.
Yeah.
Life has gold nuggets. He was induced to become a promoter, Hall of Famer, lifetime achiever, inducted in the Football Hall of Fame, 1983 school rushing record and record for the longest run from a scrimmage, 98 yards, both still standing. Please help me welcome. Bodybuilding didn't define him, that he had someone else tell him he was a great bodybuilder. Let's say hello to Sugar Shawn Ray.
G'day, mate.
G'day, mate. How are you?
Yeah, that's it's kind of like what I was hoping to hear one day when my bodybuilding career was over, someone reciting impressive accomplishments. You got to remember, when I started bodybuilding, I was introduced by a professional bodybuilder who looked like an alien. Obviously, my story is well known. If you followed me, you know that John Brown, former 2-time Mr. Universe, 3-time Mr. World, is the one that showed me the way in terms of giving me the confidence to believe that I could actually beat guys that were bigger than me, and that bodybuilding was more than just flexing muscles, and kind of took me under his wing to kind of reassure me that if I just did the work, I say that today, that if you just do the work, everything else will come. And I recognized early on that not everybody could just do the work. And the more guys that I would beat up in the gym and make quit, the way that John Brown had done so many times to me, the deeper I dug in more, because there was some kind of a reward training with someone that quit, someone that would throw up, someone that would say, I can't do it. And you just have to leave them laying where they're at, man. I mean, I found reward in people becoming me. When I started, I was training with a grown man, 10 years older than me as a teenager. He would kick my ass up and down the gym. I was like the water boy. I was the guy that would run to the store to get him food. I would change his weights. I would count his reps. But the more I saw of his life and lifestyle, and the more I saw the confidence that being big and strong and respected brought him, the more of that I wanted for myself. And there was no other teenagers I was exposed to that had a front row seat than I did, because John was running around with the Los Angeles Raiders. He was running around with the Los Angeles Rams. He knew entertainers, and people saw him coming in the clubs and kind of part the Red Sea. Here comes Mr. Universe. And when you're in the shadows and you're watching that special treatment, I wanted that one day for myself so bad. And he instilled in me that just do what I do. Just do what I do. So I ate like him. I trained like him. I got my naps in. I was religious to learning the sport of bodybuilding and then the art of posing. And it took me all around the world, right into the Bodybuilding Hall of Fame. And the things that he was telling me when I started were the things that I wound up living as an adult.
So tell me, firstly, I mean, like I said, we never start with my first question, but tell me about this. Where is that today? Where is someone that idolizes someone 10 years older, 15 years older? And you know yourself, like, where are we today where I tell someone to go get me a coffee, they'll tell me, excuse the French, but they're going to tell me to go get fucked. Who are you? Who are you? And back then, also, and I wanted to bring this up, I mean, bodybuilding was an element of vanity. We wanted to look good. We wanted handsome. It wasn't just taking off our shirt. It was, what did we look like in our shirt? How did we swagger? There was so much swagger. There was movement. There was, like I remember seeing Lee Haney walking down some mall with his wife, but the shirt was open. He looked like the Bee Gees. It looked like he's doing a Bee Gees film clip. You know what I mean? Like he's just looking cool. And you talk about like everybody's lost, if you could say this, they've lost making it fun as well. There's no fun in it anymore.
Yeah, and it's age centric. I think the older we are, we lived it, right? We had a front row seat to see what it was like to see a star. Yeah. To see someone that, like, the idolization part of it for me was in my teen years. I was only exposed to John Brown for about a year and a half, from 17 to 19. Yep. By the time I was 19, I'd already won Teenage California, Teenage America.
Hey guys, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed, who is following us on all platforms, but especially here on YouTube. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, please, if you could do us a big favor, which helps us reach more people, get better, bigger, greater. We've already had some great guests anyway. Everyone's been a treat. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you're notified every week a new podcast that is launched. And I just want to say a big thank you. But again, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and enjoy watching Muscle Talks podcasts.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because it's really age-centric. I mean, back in our time coming up, we had stars. I mean, we had bona fide celebrities because they were in the magazines. Athletes today don't know what it's like to have camera flashes going off in their face, right? Like
paparazzi.
Standing on a bodybuilding stage and looking at the flash bulbs go off.
Wow.
Walking to the arena and people taking pictures, and you hear the clicking of the camera. Now you just see people holding up a phone in front of your face, right? Most of the time they're trying to get a selfie and they want to be in the shot as you go by, but there's very little celebrity in today's economy as far as bodybuilding. I think maybe the ones that we consider celebrities, we count by the number of followers they have, right? The more followers, the bigger celebrity you are. But when I was coming up, and your point of reference is that I had a bona fide star that was down the street from me, that I was changing the weights for, that I was riding alongside him in the Mercedes, that I was opening the door as he walked in the club, and kind of a parting of the Red Sea when he walked into a football game. And I was that guy that was in the backdrop picking up the crumbs and just getting a sniff of what that celebrity looked like. And in a nanosecond, from 17 to 19, there I was on the cover of Flex magazine. Yep. As a teenage national champion, as a junior Mr. World champion.
You came to Australia. You came to Australia.
Yeah, I came to Australia and won that back in 1985. Mm-hmm. And it just seemed like it went super fast. But I got to tell you, the year and a half I was in John Brown's orbit, it wasn't, I'm going to sit down and teach you how to become me. It was me studying from a distance how much food he made, how much sleep he was getting every day, how much he was being consistent going in the morning and in the evenings to the gym, and watching him talk in different languages on the phone, negotiating guest posing appearances, watching him go to the print place, make his 8x10 photos and print up his posters, do his designer sportswear. When you're that close to celebrity like that, it doesn't become a mystery anymore. You're kind of peeling back the onion to see what's underneath there. And as a student, not knowing at 5'6", 5'7", 50 pounds lighter than John Brown, that maybe I could one day be that. I just wanted to take what he was able to show me and then go and apply it in places when he wasn't looking, that I could be him for a moment. I would go in the gym with other guys, and when I'm in the gym training with them, I became him. I took on his persona, that I need to teach these guys a lesson. I need to out-rep them. I need to outlift them, and just keep going through these workout partners like a boxer goes through sparring partners. It paid off in spades, because I was there in 3 years, professional bodybuilder right out of high school. And now it was my way of copying the Bob Parises and the Lila Bradas of the world in terms of fashion. These guys, they didn't just put on sweats. When they showed up at a contest, they looked like you said, like movie stars, right? I watched the way they fashioned their hair, how clean cut they were, the mannerisms, the way they did their articles. I read them from cover to cover. And I'm a little bit of all of the guys that kind of preceded me that I thought were superstars, megastars. And it took me to a place where I became the most photographed athlete on the cover of Flex magazine. And I think for good reason. I took a little bit of what I was learning from all the people that were doing the things that I wanted to one day do.
But do you think that you already had a strong foundation? Because you had swagger, you had determination, you had fire, you had everything that John Brown was kind of like, if I believe, the reason I think you also saw John Brown, like as a student, you're going to trust your coach. You spoke about Tyson and what's his name?
Just
Amato, right? So at the end of the day, there's so much trust. Like I find it hard to trust people. I'm sure you do as well. But with him, you saw elements of you, or what you needed more of in him. If he didn't speak well, if he didn't walk well, if he didn't dress well, if he didn't have certain aspects, as if you were going to follow that way, but you said, he's got what I got, but he's got it 10 times. I'm going to double down on him. Is that true?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I also was way aware that bodybuilding doesn't rub off. You get from it what you put into it.
Yeah.
So when I say just do the work, it starts in the gym. And if you're half-assing it in the gym, it's going to show up on the stage. If you're half-assing it in the kitchen when you cook your food, when it comes time to eat, you better be that lion, because closed mouths don't get fed, and you can't feel sorry for the fact that you're the only one going through this. I was the only one in high school. I didn't go to a high school with a bunch of bodybuilders, so I didn't have anyone to rub elbows with. And John Brown wasn't just waiting around, filling his day with trying to mentor me. I had to get in where I had to get in where I could fit in. I had to find out when he was going to the gym. I had to find out when he was going to be home. I sought out the thing that I wanted to be, because I saw the doors it was opening for a guy like that. Like this was a guy traveling all over the world, and I didn't realize that bodybuilding was bigger than my gym. And then it opened the door for me to drive 45 minutes to Gold's Gym, which was in Los Angeles. Then I was exposed to World's Gym. Then I saw the other bodybuilders that I studied in the magazines, Tom Platz, Chris Dickerson, Samir Banu. They were in the gym that I was going in. So I continually went back and forth. And I met Mike Christian and Charles Glass, and these guys were in the prime of their careers. I think when you get a glimpse of the finish line, and if it's really something that you want, you do everything you can to try to get there. And I was not a quitter. I quit initially the first couple of times when I was training with John because it was totally foreign to me. Like, this is too hard. It's too heavy. It's too alien. But as I grew remorseful and giving up on something that I thought I could do, it would get me out of bed with a guilty conscience that I got to go eat, that I got to go train, and I got to do it. It's like Groundhog Day. And when I made the reference of Mike Tyson and Cus D'Amato, if you know that story and that love affair, that boxing thing, Mike was a wayward, troubled kid. I was never. I was the son of a janitor. I had structure. I had to go to school and clean toilets with my dad and be home before the lights went out or came on. My mentorship from John Brown was me just watching Mike coming up at the same time I was, listening to him talk about Cus D'Amato, telling him the things he needed to do to become a world champion sounded very reminiscent of what John Brown was telling me. John was telling me when he met me that I could be teenage Mr. America. I hadn't become a bodybuilder yet, but he said, you're going to be teenage Mr. America. What I needed to do was to believe that. And at some point I started to believe it, and I started doing the things that he was telling me I needed to do. And when I started to win and I got the trophies and I started gaining my confidence, then I was going into the shows like, who's going to beat me? I was going in the same way Mike Tyson entered the ring. Who's going to beat me? And I had such a confidence as a teenager that if they had 4 awards, I won my division, I win my overall, I win the best poser, I win the most muscular. I was supposed to. John had conditioned me that we're going there to do the clean sweep. Anything less is a defeat. So,
well, didn't John say as well, you don't turn up to be put in the center of the stage. You own the stage. You're already the winner. They don't need to compare you. They just need to go see everyone else. You don't need to be compared. You've won it. So
yes,
it was.
It does wonders for a teenager's confidence to have someone that has that kind of trust. And then when you actually do it, you're like a kid on a roller coaster. You go through it. You're scared, and then you'll run back to get in line to do it again.
Isn't it funny though? I just wanted to say, isn't it funny though? Some people say, look, I just want to get first call out. But John said, said what? Fucking first call out. You're not even going to get compared. They're not going to put you next to somebody. They're going to put you to the side and say, you've won it. We're just picking second and third place.
Who was I competing with that someone was telling them that? So I had the psychological advantage on the majority of them because I was dealing with a guy that had the faith in me, the way that Cus D'Amato had the faith in a 15-year-old Mike Tyson that told him, you're going to be the youngest heavyweight champion of the world. He came true at 20, right when I was winning the national championships when I turned 21. So
have you met Mike Tyson? Have you met Mike Tyson?
Yeah, on several different occasions. It's a forgettable appearance because, Mike, he's getting punched into the head, unless you're in his circle. He has no idea. But I flew with him on a flight to Tennessee, Bristol, Tennessee. Yeah. He's friends with one of the Christian groups, the Winan family. There's like 11 Winan family members. And at the time, BB and CC Winans were at the top of the charts back in 1987, 88. I was flying to do a seminar in Bristol, Tennessee. BB Winans, the lead singer, was on my flight. And when we got to the gate, I got to talk music with BB Winans, who knew me through the magazines. And here comes Mike Tyson and Don King. And Mike Tyson knew BB and the whole family. So we flew on that flight. Mike was obviously in first class. I was back with the peons, but some years later I met him twice in Las Vegas and once in Hawaii not too long ago. But it's amazing how the journey starts, because these are mythical people that there's billions of people out there, right? Or millions, I should say, not billions, but in America, they say be careful of meeting your stars, your heroes. Sometimes they'll let you down. But through my bodybuilding travels, there's nobody that I haven't met that I had reverence for that I already met, you know, like we were talking about, you know, Michael Jackson. I didn't meet Michael, but I met his brother Randy, who was a bodybuilder.
Can I just ask you about that one quickly? Because I love this part too, where you said John Brown would, and you learned this as well, but Michael Jackson did it, Donald Trump did it. They just know how to put on a show. They just knew, all right, we're turning up somewhere. Hey, we're going to ramp this up. So there was that, let people know ahead of time. So then it was like, it seemed like a big deal. Can you explain that a little bit?
Well, I mean, when I go to a nightclub with John Brown, he would, before anything happened, he'd get in the club and go over to the DJ and hand him a piece of paper. And the DJ would see that the 2-time Mr. Universe, 3-time Mr. World, John Brown is in the house.
Yeah.
5-10 minutes later, we're over here talking to some hot chicks. The music stops, the lights go up, and the DJ is like, ladies and gentlemen, we have 2-time Mr. Universe, 3-time Mr. World, John Brown. While he's talking to the hot chick that he wants,
yeah,
she's watching this big introduction.
Done. Side seal delivered.
It's done. He's all the way home. And I just thought it was brilliant. When we went to a Michael Jackson, a Prince concert. I'm sorry, we went to a Prince concert once in Long Beach.
Yes.
And we got there, no tickets in hand.
I've got that written down. Yes, yeah.
And I'm sitting in John's townhouse, and he's telling me we're going to get in for free.
1984. That was 1984.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm in high school. Prince is on top of the world. Purple Rain album's out. He's killing it. We're going to go down to this concert and just walk in.
I know.
All right. Well, I'm riding with John. Let's go. So we go down there. He gets up there and he just assumes and knows that these security people are going to know who we are and who he is. And of course they did. And he said he was there bodyguarding for Michael Jackson, who was backstage to watch Prince perform. The next thing you know, we are backstage at the Prince concert. This is the kind of belief that John Brown was sprinkling in my psyche, that I could do whatever I want to do if I become somewhat similar to him. And through my accomplishments in bodybuilding, I gained confidence all the way across the board to where it's taken me now. There's nothing I feel that if I set my mind to it that I can't do. And that's from a very strong, positive foundation. That John Brown was his son, his oldest son, was the wing bearer in my wedding in 2003.
Wow. I want to bring up something since you said, you know, you just looked at him and you kind of mimicked him. What about this one? You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, get ready. 1 second. Let me just 1 second. Oh, anyway, this is how it starts. Here we go. All right, so, come on. Here we go. Come on, don't tell me you don't know this.
1996.
Wait. Your girlfriend.
Tony Braxton.
Tony Braxton, man. Now tell us. Wait, a bit more.
He's the one that got away, bro.
Hey.
Tony was on top of her game, man.
And those marble wash jeans. Wow. They were great.
Tony was on the top of her game, went to her concert. I was sitting at the very top of the arena.
Yeah, you didn't know her. Let's get this right.
I didn't know
her. You weren't happy with
her.
your seats. You weren't happy with your seats.
Yeah.
Go on, tell us the story.
I told my friend, I said, we're going to go backstage and meet her.
He
thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
He thought I was crazy, but you know what? I became John Brown for an instant.
That's what I say. You got John Brown now. Go on.
And I worked my way all the way down from the top of the arena, which was at the very top, all the way through about 3 different defense lines of security to the backstage to right outside of her dressing room door. And her manager or hairdresser or whatever it was came out. Mind you, I was wearing a spandex, skin tight black shirt that showed off my physique.
Yeah,
96, the year.
Sexy.
96 is when I got second in the Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
So the Olympia was in September. I believe this concert was in like July. So I was pretty leaned out and I was diesel. And the lady said, "Who are you here to see?" I said, "We're here to meet Tony Braxton." "Who can I say who is that?" I said, "Shawn Ray from Muscle Fitness and Flex magazine." Tony was featured in Shape magazine a few months prior to that. So now the rubber's hitting the road. She comes back out and says, "Come on in." I have my buddy with me from Las Vegas. We walk in. It's Tony and all of her dancers. Only one guy, but there was about 6 different girls. And they were just falling out over me. And my buddy was a bodybuilder too.
Love it.
But we were on display.
That's what bodybuilding's about, man. That is bodybuilding.
We were on display. I thought for a second, I'm like, okay, Take me. I'm here. Go ahead.
This is bodybuilding, man. This is bodybuilding.
To make a long story short, I had to have something, that had some substance. I told her that I was there on behalf of Flex Magazine. Now, I'm one of the few guys on the covers of the magazine that's black, and we're looking for someone to compliment me, a person of color. And they asked me to come down here and see if that might interest you, since you were in Shape Magazine. And all I did the whole time was get felt up by all of her dancers and her.
See, that's bodybuilding.
Taking pictures of me.
That's bodybuilding.
She gave me her manager's number. It never materialized. By the way, I had a girlfriend at the time. It never materialized. But for me, it was a moment where I thought, well, this is something I accomplished on the level that John Brown did with Prince and Michael Jackson's story back in Long Beach in 1984. It wasn't about Toni Braxton. It was just about me going all the way back there and meeting with her and taking pictures with her. We didn't have the cell phones. I wasn't walking around with an Instamatic camera, so I don't have it documented. She's got my picture. But it was another confidence builder for me, and a story that resonated because I did something that my buddy was telling me I couldn't do. It was just another feather in my cap.
Do you the other thing that came to mind with John Brown, and you mentioned your dad, and to me, it sounds like you were a great student. It seems like you're very articulate. You take notes, everything you want to know, and you want to be the best at it. It's not about being the best at everything. You just want to know you're giving it your best shot at everything. And I'm sure that came to studies. I'm sure that came to everything, manners, whatever it may be. But what I know is and you obviously your NFL career and not having a plan B, but was John, Robert Kiyosaki? You know Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Have you ever heard that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
No. I know the book. I don't know the guy. All
right, but you know the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. All right, I'll just say to you, he had a dad who was a lecturer, right? A university lecturer. And then he had his dad's mate that was an entrepreneur. And so he called the entrepreneur the rich dad, and he called his dad, the lecturer that had a 9-to-5 job, the poor dad. And Robert Kiyosaki spoke about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So was John and your dad that kind of story, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? You had two kind of mentors, two people you worked towards to find the direction, not only balance, but really to say, I've got to point the needle that way, because that shows me that finish line. Not that your dad had a bad finish line. I'm talking about that, because neither did Robert Kiyosaki's dad, but his dad was a 9-to-5 guy, like to pay his taxes. Just basic living,
Well, you got to remember, when you're the son of a janitor, there's no hours. You're never off the clock. At any given time, my dad would come up and say, we're going to go somewhere. And I had to go. It was a family business, Ray Clean Building and Maintenance. My oldest brother, from my oldest brother to me, we all worked. My entire neighborhood worked with or for my dad at some point in time.
Oh, your dad was a businessman.
For us, it was a journey, because we didn't know what building we were going to go to. And sometimes it was buildings, sometimes it was homes, sometimes they were full on malls. I was a kid and getting out of the house and going to these places, and we would be the only kids in school that would have like mechanical pencils and pens and calculators, because we were working in corporate buildings, that we would have access to these new gadgets in these corporate offices that we could bring to school and kind of tinker with. But I didn't want to do that as an athlete. I realized playing football, I needed my rest. I also got to a point where, as you become a teenager, like, this is not my passion. This is my dad's livelihood. This is not what I want to grow up to be. I don't want to own the family business.
That's right.
And so through football, I thought that would be my way out. And the realization that I wasn't big enough for football, and that through bodybuilding, I could actually get bigger. Maybe that's my ticket. So when you say I don't have a plan B, the only plan B I would have had is to go back to work for the family business, which I just refused that was going to be something that I was going to wind up doing. I could do that as a professional. I could start tomorrow, go out, get a van, get 2 or 3 workers, and build up accounts. And I could have a great business in the janitorial space, because it's what I grew up with. But I wanted something that would get me out of bed, because it was a challenge for me. That was my dad keeping a roof over my head. That was how he chose to do it. And it was something that I realized it wasn't going to be for me. So I found something that I could do. Then I realized I had someone telling me I could be great at it, not good, but great. And that's coming from someone that I considered great, because he's in the magazines, he's traveling the world, he's living off of his physique. People respect him. He's flashy in his dress. He's smart. So I come out of high school in 1984. I go to a junior college around the corner, because it's close. It's either get a job or go to college. And for me, I was bodybuilding, so I went to college instead because I didn't have time to work. And then I wound up going to the university that John went to, Cal State Fullerton. He graduated from there. I decided, he's a smart guy. He went there. I need to go. So I went to Cal State Fullerton. While I was sitting in Cal State Fullerton in 1988 on my second year there, I would compete the day after my 23rd birthday in the Mr. Olympia held in Los Angeles. And I came back from that Mr. Olympia with a $2,000 participation check, 13th place.
Yes.
And I decided, I made the conscious decision that I didn't want to go to school. I wanted to be a professional bodybuilder. Wow. And that school was getting in the way of that. Well, I chose at that point, the only plan B I had was plan A, which was being a professional bodybuilder, and I never went back.
Have you, I'm bringing that up because it says here, 1988, 13th place, that was your first attempt.
Yeah.
And then you went, 1991 was, you went to Arnold's. What was going on?
1990, Ironman first.
Ironman, that's right. Yeah. So tell me, again, I just want to, so tell me how, when you became like all in, I just want to ask, was there ever a moment where you were like questioning the journey, or did you just know every single step of the way? Was there like, what I'm trying to say is, I'll tell you why. It's great for all of us to hear that, but we also, I guess, like to know that there is moments of hardship, darkness, where the chips aren't all lining up, or maybe there is a moment where you're going like, it's got to be, this overnight success soon. It's got to be the overnight success soon, because overnight success takes 10 years sometimes. So tell us.
Well, it wasn't for me an overnight success, but in bodybuilding terms, it was.
Yes.
But you also have to remember, I was not a unicorn. If you look before me, we had Rich Kaspari, who was barely 21 years old. We had Kevin Levrone and Flex Wheeler and Chris Cormier coming up right alongside me. We were in our early 20s as professionals. And I guess when I hit my first hiccup in the road would have been the 1990 Arnold Classic, when I failed the drug test and I didn't get the prize money. The reason why
that make you feel? How did that make you feel?
Well, it was a hiccup. And I tell this all the time. It was 60,000 I never had, so I don't know really what I lost.
Okay, yeah.
I never had it. Right? They're going to give us the prize money after they got the results back. So when they got the results and I was positive, I never got the prize money. I wasn't homeless. I was living in my apartment, and I was making enough money through sponsorships to keep a roof over my head and food in my stomach and gas in my car. I was a professional bodybuilder, full blown by 1990. I'd already done the Olympia, like you said.
Yep.
And in 1989, I was all around the world. I went to probably more countries in 1989 when I did not compete than at any other given time. And remember back then, we're selling our 8x10s, we're selling t-shirts, we're selling posters. I was making videos. We were able to monetize our celebrity to hundreds and thousands of fans around the world. Just because you didn't see me in California didn't mean I wasn't working in some other place. And so we weren't going, no, I wasn't starving and I wasn't afraid. When I failed the test in 1990 and I did not get the prize money, I went right back to work because I had the Mr. Olympia coming up in September. I didn't have time to think about what happened in March because I was trying to become Mr. Olympia. That was the only reason I went down this road, is because John Brown said, you can be Mr. Olympia if you do this, that, and the third. And as I was knocking these milestones down, Mr. California, national champion, pro Ironman champion, competing in Olympia, I stayed on that course. So I don't think I allowed self-doubt to come in. And it's very hard for that to come in when you are training around amongst your peers, when you have Joe Weider signing your check, and when you can pick up the phone and talk to someone like John Brown and guys like Chris Dickerson and talk about what's next? What should I do next? How should I do this? I had very good positive influences around me that never gave me the feeling that I was lost in my journey. This was my journey. And it all was centered around the Olympia, nothing else. I didn't want to be Mr. San Francisco, Mr. Miami, Mr. Night of Champions. I want to be Mr. Olympia. So with that one contest and that single amount of time that you have to countdown towards, I had a lot more time to build the brand, to build the business of traveling, promoting, and marketing myself, so that I could not be reliant upon that prize money from the competition. And that's what John Brown taught me the most.
How did well, because I've gone to your Wikipedia, let me just quickly go over a few things, because this is crazy. I don't want to. So 1983 California Cup. Yeah, 1994. Yeah. You can tell me all the placings. 1994, Mr. Teenage Los Angeles. Sure.
84.
84. Sorry. 80. 84.
Long time ago.
84. 84. I don't know why my pen broke down.
A long time ago.
No, 1984 again, but Teenage California. 1985 Teenage National Champ. 1985 Junior World Championship, 1986 Junior Nationals Championship, 1987 Mr. California, light, heavy, and overall, 1987 National Championships, 1990 Pro Ironman Champion, 1990 Arnold Classic Championships. That's the one where you lost due to the drug test, yep. And 1991 Arnold Classic Champion, and you've obviously been like competing since 1983 to 2001.
Yes.
And I might as well go with the other accolades here as well. You got, obviously, 1988 was 13th Mr. Olympia, but then 1991, sorry, we said that first place. 1992, 4th Mr. Olympia. 1993, 3rd Mr. Olympia. 1994, 2nd Mr. Olympia. 1996, 2nd Mr. Olympia.
95 I was spread. Yeah. 95 I dropped down to 4th.
Is 95. What? I didn't see that one.
95. Yeah, I went from 2nd to 4th, 94 to 95.
Why did I miss that? See, I don't know Wikipedia. I need to check Wikipedia again. 1996. I tell you what, you sent me some. But do you know? By this morning, I was going like all I could think of was Shawn Ray, and I go, did I forget that? Did I know that? Oh my God, should I be listening to that? I was listening to you in the shower. I was walking around the house, patting my dogs. I was in the car. I even called Chris Shawn when I arrived. I mean, at the end of the day, 1997, 3rd Mr. Olympia. This is a great story, but this is not an easy story. And my question is, one, tell us about how there was a failed drug test. How did you feel? There was also an injury. You also had to turn up. You didn't turn up to the comp, Olympia, I think it was, or something. Is that right?
Well, no, 1989 was the very first Arnold Classic, and I was invited by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I was training with Mike Christian at Gold's Gym in Venice Beach.
That one, yes.
We were doing some leg presses, drop set leg presses. I pinched a nerve in my neck. Something happened. I go to the doctor. They tell me basically to take 5 weeks off. We're 4 weeks out from the competition, telling me not to put any strain on it because it would just aggravate the injury. And it was aggravated enough to the point where I couldn't do upright rows. I couldn't do the pulls. I couldn't do shoulder. I couldn't train the way that I wanted to without continually making it worse. And so immediately I let Wayne DeMilia, the vice president back then, know that I'm not going to be able to make the competition. 5 weeks out from the show, you think it's plenty enough time. They got enough competitors. It's an invitational, and it's Arnold. So Wayne took it personal that I was giving him the big FU for whatever reason. I'm not sure. It was an honor. I wanted to do it. I wasn't able to get ready for it. Got hurt. He suspended me for the year. So for 1989, I was not allowed to compete until the Arnold Classic came around, which was the drug tested one. And of course, now I'm in that show and I fail the drug test. So in my mind, I'm thinking this is Wayne DeMilia pulling some shenanigans. And I got everybody telling me that the whole thing is bullshit and it's rigged and they just trying to screw me. And I didn't let that take a stronghold in my mind.
Yeah.
I just thought, I talked with Joe Weider. I got the confidence of him that I'd already qualified for the Olympia by winning the Ironman the week before. He said, just pass the next test when the Olympia comes. Well, that's easy enough to do because I'm not going to put myself at risk to fail the damn thing. And it was coming in September in Chicago. And I went from 13th place in 1988 all the way up to 3rd place in 1990.
That's right.
And of course, it was my way of looking back at Wayne DeMilia, giving him the big whatever. But I didn't want to make that a personal thing. Like that happened, and that a weaker mind probably would have had somebody pissed off. Like they might have quit. I was never going to quit.
Yeah.
I got 3rd in that Mr. Olympia, and I just in my mind told myself I would one day become Mr. Olympia, and if I didn't, they're going to have hell on, to have the answer to, and it's not going to be because I'm not prepared. And that's where I began my run of the 12 consecutive years in the top 5 from 1990 to 2001.
Yeah, but what about all these comps prior? And all I hear now is bodybuilders saying, I'm just going to do one comp this year. I need to grow.
Well,
I need to do this.
Let's give that some context.
Yeah, please.
Back then, I was one of the few guys that was only doing the Olympia except the winner.
Yeah.
Lee Haney was only doing the Olympia. Dorian Yates was only doing the Olympia.
No, but I'm talking about all this other stuff prior. Like you were very active.
Yes.
Like what I'm saying is a lot of people, even when before they, like it seems like everyone sets themselves up for just one comp, but you were setting yourself up for like a Grand Prix. It was like a Grand Prix.
What I was doing in the beginning was trying to make a name for myself.
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
And so once I became a bona fide contender and I made a name for myself, there was no reason for me to go to all these other Grand Prix when I had only one goal. I had only one dream. I wanted to be the next Chris Dickerson. I wanted to be the next Samir Banu. I mean, I wanted to be the next Franco Colombo. These were short guys like me that actually became Mr. Olympia. And I thought, if they did it, maybe I can do it. I didn't. No one envisioned that Lee Haney in 1984 was going to come and just dominate Mr. Olympia. And I actually would have. I never thought I'd be standing there with Lee Haney when I graduated high school. But of course, in 1988, there he was. 4 years later, he's standing right next to me, and having that seat in my first Olympia where I got 13th, watching Lee Haney do the business of being Mr. Olympia.
What was that? What was that like? What Lee Haney like?
It was surreal.
Oh, really?
Because this was a guy I'd never met in person until I was standing on the stage with him and watching him warm up backstage. Of course, I didn't get close to him because we were never compared. Right? He was first and I was 13th, but I was in his orbit and I was backstage, and his pictures were still on my apartment walls back at my apartment when I drove to the Mr. Olympia at Universal Amphitheater in LA. I left that contest in 13th, in the middle, because mind you, I knew I wasn't a contender. I wasn't in shape, and the chips were going to fall where they were. But I wanted to look back and see what feathers did I get. I beat Robbie Robinson that day. I beat Albert Beckles that day. When I saw Rolf Mueller walk in to the athletes meeting, he's 6'8" and 300 pounds. I'm thinking, whatever's under that, I can't beat it. He's too big. I beat Rolf Mueller, who later on became the Gladiator. He was in the Gladiators, one of the guys. Yeah. I think there was another guy, another German. I think it was Peter Hensel, who I'd watched in the magazines coming up out of Germany. I had enough people that were behind me. I think we had 22 or 23 guys that I felt, all right, I felt pretty accomplished. Even though I was off, I was able to beat them. So what happens when I'm on? And I made it my mission to come back and be better and better prepared. And what happened? I wound up coming back and I got third place. So for me, to go from 13th to third was the prophecy of John Brown coming true. And me suddenly looking at these guys I thought were superhuman as guys that I could beat. When I got third place to Labrada, I never believed for a second that I couldn't beat him one day. Right? I mean, this guy beat me. He's second in the world. Yeah. And I'm this close. So my mission at that time, I didn't know how long Lee Haney was going to compete, but I knew I was going to catch Labrada before he got out of the game. And so in 1993, that happened. That was a huge milestone for me to beat a guy as good and as accomplished as Lee Labrada. Lee Haney had retired, so now I'm dealing with Dorian Yates.
Oh, you were,
and of course,
there was some big ones.
Of course,
man.
He took it to a different level.
Yeah. No, so what was it about Lee Labrada? You did a podcast with him. You guys spoke about how grateful you guys are as well to have each other, to have that period in the 90s and that kind of a lineup, and to compete, also the late 80s too, but also the 90s, to compete in that repertoire of amazing, but also the fact that people back then idolized you guys, had you up on their walls, and used you as a pinnacle of not just bodybuilding but health and fitness. And he felt very proud. And you also talk about people talking about your body today, which is very refreshing to reminisce yourself and realize, yeah, it was a great body.
Well, you know, it's crazy that I had pictures of Lee Labrada on my wall.
There you go.
All throughout my career. Like I studied him because I wanted to be him. He was the closest thing to me.
What was it about him though? Can I just ask, what was it about him in his body? What was
he was his spit and polish, man. This guy, tell me. When you heard him speak, he's very articulate, very, very meticulous. The way he wore his clothes, he didn't look like he was going to the gym. You know, he'd be wearing nice attire. Kind of like when you see some of these football players or basketball players when they show up for the game and they're dressed to the nines and then they go put on their outfit. Labrada never, walked around wearing sweats, right? He always wore something fashionable. So he gave me a sense of fashion. And John Brown, by the way, was a fashion guy. He went to college for fashion. That was what his degree was in, art. So it told me about how I needed to color coordinate and match my clothes, but all of that was translating over into the art of bodybuilding, the performance side. And Labrada was way out there, along with Muhammad McAway, way out there trying to interpret how you present your physique. And this was not somebody I knew. I did not know Lee Labrada. So what I was learning from John on the art of presentation, who had nothing to do with Labrada, I'm watching Labrada do his thing, and I'm thinking, I like that too. So I'm taking some moves from him. I'm watching what Bob Paris is doing. Yeah. And I'm biting off of him. So there's only one John Brown, and I couldn't just copy John Brown. So I took a little bit from different guys that I liked, and I recognized that in talking with them post-retirement, that they all knew and had planned that it wasn't the most important thing wasn't what the judges were going to do, but kind of what you controlled. They controlled the performance. They owned the stage. They were going to give the memory to the fans that paid money because that was the signature. The posing round counted for something. And from the beginning to the end, the choice of the music, the style of the poses, the transitions, the facial expressions, the color of your skin, that took precedence over you doing set after set after set in the gym. You had to do your posing. When the bodybuilding stuff was that we had to make time for posing. It means something. And that's gone. It means nothing anymore.
But when can I just ask you, when did that grace start? Because it wasn't it wasn't early days with Lou Ferrigno and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Columbo, and then it started fading away mid. It's what I'm saying is you hung on to it. You never let it go, right? And Leland Brothers and all that. Like, and forgive me if I don't want Dorian not to come on, but he wasn't a dancer. Meaning it wasn't like he did an amazing techno one. It was amazing, that techno. That was amazing. That was amazing. Like that was a blowout. Like he came from beating Lee Haney to, it was like chalk, like it was a chalk and cheese? I don't know what you call it, but he was like leapfrog to another level in 1 year. In 1 year. I think getting rid of the mullet might have helped him as well. I think getting rid of the mullet and the curls helped him out. But what I'm getting at is, when I look at you guys, I think it's just you guys put on a show that had this classical music. It was graceful yet muscular, and it was very hard to look at it like you were just some gym bro. It was, you know what I'm trying to say? It was, I don't know.
Yeah. We all had our own styles.
Yes.
We all did. I mean, Kevin Lebroni had his style. Vince Taylor had his style, and Labrada had the bar was raised so high that you had to try to rise up to match it. You had to show up with a routine. Even Mike Quinn came out, he was doing his thing to the Gap Band. I mean, everybody kind of had a shtick.
When did that start though? I want to ask, when did press conferences start, and when did the posing?
The posing, I remember I started in 1983, and I studied guys that came before me. So Muhammad McAway had already gotten second in the Mr. Olympia in 1982 and in 1983. I should say 83 and 84. I'm sorry. And he was one of those graceful, artistic posers. A lot of the guys say that Ed Corney was as well for the 70s.
Yep.
I didn't go back to the 70s. I started in the 80s.
Yes,
so
you did.
When I got there, it was chock full of people doing routines. Bob Paris had routines. The 83 national championships with Roy Liedlmeyer. I mean, Roy Liedlmeyer was giving master classes on posing for his athletes. We had guys that were emulating me coming up behind John Brown and talking about Flex Wheeler, Chris Cormier, and Levrone. So starting in the early 80s at the Nationals, remember Lee Haney turned pro in 1982. One of the first things that he told us that Arnold Schwarzenegger said to him that stuck with him was, you have to improve your posing. After 1983, he got beat by Samir Banu. And Samir Banu knew how to show his physique. Not the greatest poser, but he had style and he had charisma, Samir did. And for Lee Haney to get past Samir, he took the advice of Arnold Schwarzenegger that he needed a posing coach. So even as good as Lee Haney was, he got second place or third place in 1983, wins the Mr. Olympia in 1984, and then he goes on to try to improve his presentation. You're already the champion. You don't have to do anything. Big Ramy didn't go out and get posing coach lessons after he won the Olympia, I'm sure. No. But Lee Haney did. And so when we saw what Lee Haney was doing, we all knew that we have to kind of up our game. And I think we were looking sideways at each other. Who's going to do what? What are you posing to? And what's it going to look like? And we would stand behind the curtain or look at the monitor to see what the guys are doing. That's not happening in today's bodybuilding.
That's what. G'day, I'm Jamie from Pawtion, and I'm here to tell you about us. We're an all-natural Australian dog treat company with Australian sourced and made ingredients and treats. Everything we do is single ingredient and all natural, so you don't have to worry about any additives, preservatives, salts, or anything nasty in the treats. What you see is what you get. So these are two of our treats here. We've got the lamb snacks and the kangaroo jerky. The lamb snacks are my go-to for walks, whether it's on the beach or at the park. They're easy to handle, clean to break, and the dogs love them. The kangaroo jerky is a slightly chewier option. It's high in protein, low in fat, so it's super lean. My dogs absolutely adore it, and I like to use it as an at-home snack or a little chew for them at times. So head over to pawtion.com.au and use your code MuscleTalks25 for 25% off your first order, or MuscleTalks10 for 10% off every single order after that. Cheers.
What I'm saying is, you guys didn't have something to look at. Meaning, hear me out.
No.
Today's bodybuilders go, okay, I'm going to try to mimic Shawn Ray's routine, or I'm going to grab a little bit from Shawn Ray. I'm going to grab a little bit from Leland Brada. I'm going to grab a little bit from all these guys, right? But the funny thing is, when they try to grab from you guys, it can never look the same, right?
Yeah.
Where you guys, it was like the unknown. You were entering a field of posing that there wasn't posing. There wasn't a routine. You choreographed it. You put some real cool music with it, and you were hoping for the best. And it wasn't just about hitting the muscle, but it was hitting the pose. But it's just funny. Everybody's struggling to find their own posing routine and to make it seem like you've gone to the theater. Like, it just seems manufactured right now. Am I right in saying that?
Well, what I can tell you, it's very robotic and it's very anticlimactic, because no one that don't really live up to the hype. I mean, there's no personalities out there. We had like Melvin Anthony after I retired. Yeah. Melvin Anthony, King Kamali, Craig Titus, with Darren Charles back in the day. There's really no real big personalities out there. And I know that the magazines weren't able to create personalities because that's a still photograph. These personalities were a reflection of these people's characteristics and mannerisms. And I mean, you start talking to Melvin Anthony, he's going to take you all over the place and he's going to entertain you, right? Kamali and all these other guys. And I don't say that you have to dance, because I never danced, but
I'm putting it figure of speech. It's not dancing.
Yeah, it would behoove our federation in today's economy to have a master class with some of the guys that used to do that, to talk to the new guys. But there's such a separation. The new guys are insulated with their coaches and with their teams, and they don't really, the camaraderie is not there. There's not a central gathering place. We had Gold's Gym. We can go down to Gold's Gym and we see everybody that's in the magazines. Yeah. When I was driving to Gold's Gym from my house, I had no idea who would be there. But on any given day, there's Flex Wheeler, there's Mike Matarazzo, there's Mike Christian, there's Lou Ferrigno, there's Tom Platt. You knew you were going to run into the magazine world, and we could exchange ideas and, hey, come take a look at me in the posing room. We were helping each other. That's not how it works today. Most of the guys, they have a coach and they're isolated with their coach, and you don't see them until the show. And
they've got to ask, the show is over. They've got to ask permission from their coach now, don't they? Like, even to talk to you. Yeah. You were saying it on you were saying it to, I think, Phil Heath when you were just talking.
Yeah, it's
with
on
Phil
the
Heath.
media.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
were
on the
saying to
media
Phil
side.
Heath, what, I was just wanting to talk to a guy coming off the stage, and he's like, hang on, I don't know if I should be talking to you. And like, you're thinking, bro, it's you I want to talk to, not your coach. Like, just talk, bro. It's media.
We're living in strange times. Mind you, I was a reporter for bodybuilding literally since I turned pro. Like in 1987, I started reporting on bodybuilding, commentating, interviewing.
Yep.
And I got to tell you, it's not as satisfying and rewarding because I don't hear the story from the athlete. It's so much more of a team thing. And so you don't get to know who the athlete is. When you start talking to the athlete talks about everybody else, and it's hard to get to know who he is and his struggles. So it's not that fun for me anymore doing that side of it. But, you know, it's in my blood. I still get excited about the shows, but I always feel like it's anticlimactic when it comes to the posing round, which is where my first love was. The routines are forgettable. The music is not even entertaining. And there's really no reward there. Like, you know, there's no reason for these guys to entertain us. There's no one telling them. And I think it's a federational thing that if we want that lost art of posing to be brought back, it'd have to come from the administration saying, hey, guys, you know what? We're going to either monetize a reward for you to incentivize you, or you're going to have to start working harder on entertainment because we're losing our audience. I mean, bodybuilding in the posing round is just not what it once was.
Well, you spoke about starting your own competition, and that you were induced into it because of, what's his name, Flex. No, Iron Man.
John Bailey.
John Bailey said to you, because you said to him, you're making all this money and you're not handing it over to the athletes. You're not doing enough for them. And he said, let's see you do it. And you turned around. I just want to find it here. You turned around and you put together a competition.
In Colorado.
In Colorado. It was, and you correct me if I'm wrong, it was $70K.
And $70,000
and it was not only bodybuilders, but it was also pro figure. Correct. Let's get the women in there. Let's everyone hear about that too. And then and what you did was you gave away $25,000 first prize. Listen to this way. Right. No, you gave away. People should hear this. It's pretty cool. And then we're going to talk about why you stood up for your athletes. Then you gave away $15,000 second prize. That's some good money there, right? Then you gave away $10,000 to third place, but hang on, you gave $10,000 away to posing. You gave away $10,000. Where did they do that? That's one, posing, and also you gave away a Hummer.
Yeah, we gave away a Hummer to a fan that came to watch the show.
Come on, man.
So, and not only that, bro, it was in a brand new multi-million-dollar convention center downtown Denver, Colorado.
No, man, I'm with you. I'm trying to find my notes.
Sometimes you have to be challenged in order to show people what you can do, and I was highly motivated.
Yeah, you did.
And listen, it's not a knock on John Balick. He challenged me. He was my very first professional photo shoot that I took when I was 18 years old. Compliments of Chris Dickerson, who introduced me to John Balick. John put me on the cover of Iron Man, I think probably 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Very gracious to John Balick, one of the best lighting guys out there. He was a bodybuilder back to start. So not to crap all over John Balick, but you know what? You challenged me and you hit me in a place that was near and dear to my heart, because what I was trying to do and tell him, I wanted to give away a $5,000 Best Poser Award at his show. I won the Ironman. That was his show. His first one in 1990. I was the first winner of it. I'm grateful.
Yeah.
Years later, in retirement, I want to do a $5,000 Best Poser Award.
Yeah.
And he was still giving away the same $10,000 in 2005 that I won back in 1990.
That's right. You brought it to his attention.
Yeah, and he said, I can't give away $5,000 because second place was only $4,000, and it would be embarrassing. I said, what do you mean? Why would it be embarrassing? Give away more money already. You've expanded your show into this expo, and you're making more money from your sponsors, but none of the athletes are reaping the rewards after 15 years. He took it personal. The Best Poser Award went from $5,000 that I wanted to give away down to $1,000. And the Best Poser Award went from a Shawn Ray Best Poser Award I was trying to create to a Vince Gironda Best Poser Award, because that was who he idolized. So it was sad for that show because the athlete only got 1,000 instead of the 5,000 I wanted to give away. And he then told me on the back end on my way out was, look, if you think you can do a better job, promote your own show. So yes, I went to Colorado, put on a Shawn Ray Pro-Am Classic. I didn't do it by myself. I had a lot of great people helping that sponsored the show.
Yeah.
Phil Heath was discovered there.
Yes,
that was his
right.
pro debut. He won that show. A very little known Kai Green, who took dead last, got the $10,000 Best Poser Award.
Wow,
And
wow. And then what's his name said to you, let's see you do it again. Like, lucky one-hit wonder, Mr. Shawn
but
Ray.
you know what, doing a show, like promoting a contest is not luck. It's a lot of hard work. It's like getting ready for a contest.
What are you
it's a lot
talking
of hard
about?
work.
And you did it in a convention center, like you said. So you turned it into some big spectacular, not a school hall, not somewhere dingy. You went you doubled down. And
I did double down.
And you speak about Kai Green, where the year after he won it.
Yeah, he was dead last in 2006.
Yeah.
And he won the 10,000. He used that money to come back in 2007, and he went from dead last to first place and won the Best Poser Award. So, I got my little victories along the way in my retirement that I could not accomplish as a competitor. And of course, when you have a big mouth, people are going to challenge you. And then a lot of them are going to say, put your money where your mouth is. Well, sometimes it's not about my money, but it's the collective that see the vision that I see that can make these things happen. I was working with a very good sponsor. I had a very good standing with a lot of other companies. I brought Gary Stridham out of retirement to compete in my competition. Darren Charles actually won a Best Poser Award at my show. I mean, that was a very good time. I was having children at that time. My daughter was born in 2005. My other daughter was born in 2008.
She's an amazing singer.
If it wasn't for John Balick, I wouldn't be promoting today. So
and you gave away that year a Harley Davidson, man.
Yeah.
And talking about Harleys, you had a Fat Boy.
I did have a Fat Boy. I had 3 bikes.
I still got if I know, it was in the 90s you had that Fat Boy. I think it was crimson. Was it crimson in color?
Yeah, it was. As a matter of fact, I had a purple one and I had a crimson one. Yes.
I'll tell you why. I've got a 91 Fat Boy. I still got it. I've had it for 30 years.
Yeah, I got scared. When the kids came, it was my bike riding days were over.
Wait, Chris, you got to edit out. Shawn Ray just said scared. You got to cut that out. There's no such thing as scared. Sean, let's get rid of that scared part. But yeah, I got my Fat Boy still. I got a 1991 ruby red on red, and I've got a 1987 Heritage.
Yeah, Heritage.
1987 ruby red on red, and then I've got a 2001 100th anniversary Electroglide.
Yeah, here in California, it's a little more scary. The population is way too dense. There's too many idiots on the road.
We're going to cut it out. We're cutting out scared, mate. There's no such thing as scared. But on the Jay Cutler show, you spoke about fighting with the judges prior to contests at press conferences, arguing for transparency, arguing for prize money, arguing for unionizing as well, arguing for all the things wrong, but nobody there had your back. I mean, Kevin Levrone stuck out his neck for you and obviously spoke about the problems. And, at one stage you said something about, like you said, even Ronnie felt like he was being attacked because I think you were asking for, let us know why they're winning. Let us know why they're not winning. Let us know what we need to improve on. What's a score rating? Like you just wanted complete transparency, but it was the system that was, and you wanted to say and you said to Ronnie as well, it's not Ronnie, man, it's the system I'm attacking here, brother. Yeah. So how did we go? And apparently you have made big changes to the sport and have helped the sport immensely since then. Well, even though at the time you were ridiculed, you were spoken about having ego. And I know that. I walk in a room and they think I've got ego. Everyone thinks I've got attitude. Everyone thinks I'm something. I don't know what they think I am. I think they think I'm Johnny Depp at times. I don't know what's going on. But go on, tell us about that.
No, I mean, listen, I knew the things I was talking about weren't going to benefit me personally. My career was done. I was on the back end. I was on the way out.
You were on the way out, correct. Yeah.
So I was just hoping that what I was arguing for, fighting for, that the guys would be able to reap the benefits. And of course they have. I don't need any pats on the back. I wasn't sticking my neck out there to get pats on the back. I just, I see something wrong, I say something. Yeah. And I just recognize that, maybe that's why I'm able to do the things I do in this sport, is because there are more people that respect people that will call things like they are than being a sheep. I wasn't a sheep. I mean,
being a sheep.
and a lot of guys are afraid to say the wrong thing and be politically correct because they're in the winner's seat. They're number one. You know, and it's not, you can't knock Ronnie, Jay, or Phil because there is a personality component. I wasn't shy. I was shy when I was a teenager, but I came up behind a mentor that was like, you know, you got to speak up, you got to be first, you got to be loud, you got to be heard, you got to be seen. And that served me well. That's why I was on TV with my own workout show when I was competing. That's why I was able to travel around the world and do seminars and speak up. And I was also able to put my money where my mouth is. And so I was able to rally some guys together that would match some of the money that I would dig into my pocket. And that those nickels and dimes added up to dollars and cents. I was able to do some golf charity events to give some money away on behalf of the children that needed help. And it was all because bodybuilding opened those doors. None of this shit, I didn't take it personal. I mean, some of the judges I didn't like. Some of them I thought were crooks. Some of them I thought shouldn't be judges. You know, so I said it. I didn't care. Look, I was suspended. I had prize money taken away from me. I was overlooked. I've been ignored. So in retirement, what do I have to be afraid of? I wasn't on anyone's payroll. So I just said what I wanted to say. I think I gained some respect doing that, and other people benefited because of that.
Well, it's funny because I had Monica Brandt on, right? And she was a self-promoter herself, right? So she was a very good self-promoter. She would go around the world as well herself, being on magazine covers, just like you, right? She was on 130 magazine covers. But the funniest thing is Monica Brandt said to me was that the IFBB said to her, you need to stop this. And she goes, why would I stop this? She goes, well, you can't do it, but let us manage you doing it. And she turned to them and said, I don't need anyone to manage me. I'm doing quite fine on my own. And from that point, she started losing placings. And in the end, she went to WBFF, she said, and she goes, yeah, all my placings started to change. So the politics started to enter the game because it was that they were, like I said, they wanted to have a piece of what Monica Brandt had. I guess maybe they wanted a piece of your pie too. Maybe they didn't like.
Well, what I can tell you is I never felt controlled. I was a friend of Joe Weider.
Yes.
He was my number one sponsor.
Can you tell us about Joe Weider quickly?
Well, I mean, Joe loved bodybuilding the way that I fell in love with bodybuilding. I was an artist, right? And I liked the idea that he never tried to control me, appreciated me. He had a lot of different flavors, right? I mean, he had guys like Gunther Slurkamp and Dorian and other, just it ran the gamut of people that he had under contract. So he was the patriarch of this big family with this one belief that the Olympia was everything. So long as we did everything we could to promote what he was putting out there, we got fed. So I did the workout photo shoots. I showed up for the photo shoots on time, the magazine articles, the bodybuilding contest, the magazine, the guest appearances. But we all had the same common goal. We want to promote the sport. We want to promote Joe. We want to promote the Olympia. Jake is of the same way. The guy that owns the Olympia today, the new owner, Jake Wood, is of the same, was one big family. And so that is the patriarch of the family. The judges aren't. The judges are people that put on their pants one leg at a time. They don't control me. When I'm not competing, you can't tell me what I can say and not say, how to act, how to dress. And so that's maybe where I got this rebellious taste in their opinion, because I was outspoken. I did articles all the time and I gave my opinion because that's what magazines were for. It's a Q&A.
100%.
Interviews are to express myself, not to toe the company line. I didn't work for the IFBB. I didn't work for even today, I don't work for the IFBB Pro League. So I can't speak for the Pro League, but I can speak for Shawn Ray. So my opinion, as polarizing as it can be, sometimes rubs people the wrong way because they don't like the tone or the sound or the timing of it. But I'm the person being interviewed. So you ask my opinion, I'm just going to give it to you straight. And some people can handle the truth and other people can't. I like what John Brown said. It's like coffee. Like I like my coffee black. I don't like it watered down with cream or sugar or artificial flavorings. I like it black, strong. And that's how I like to be. That's how I like to come across. There's no gray area when I'm telling you. If you ask me a question, you're not going to be. I wonder what he meant by that. That's not. You're going to know exactly what I mean.
Well, you also said that sometimes when you're speaking about an athlete, you're not speaking about him personally. You're critiquing the body.
Correct.
Like if I tell you your arms aren't up to scratch. I'm not telling you about your personality. I'm not telling you you're not a nice guy. I'm just
your character.
Your character, or how much money you got in the bank. We're not critiquing the car you drive,
Well,
but it's
let me
mostly
tell you-
about, it's about, I'm telling you something that can be constructive and just maybe an opinion. Go on.
In this day that we live in, everyone can fire back. See, when I was coming up, it was a magazine. For you to fire back at something I say, you have to put a pen to paper, lick your envelope, get the stamp, send it in the mail overseas, and the next magazine comes out 2 or 3 months. They open the mail and decide whether or not they want to forward it to me. If it's some racist rant, it's never going to see the light of day. But if it's constructive criticism, I might get it, and then I can read it, and I'll write you back. But months go by before that transaction. Now you can run right to your Instagram. You can run right to your Facebook. You can go right to YouTube, and you can dissect everything that I say with your opinion to your people. So everyone's entitled to their opinion, and I don't care if a stranger likes me or doesn't like me. But if you ask me my opinion, my job is just to give it to you. So it isn't about critically tearing people down. This is a sport of opinion, whether you like it or not. They're going to judge you on what you wear. They're going to comment on what you say. They're going to evaluate how you look and where you place. It's just the opinions are more readily available to be dissected and also misconstrued and taken out of context. That's where we live today.
Well, I guess, we live in a society, they say, don't judge me the way I look. But in bodybuilding, you're judged the way you look.
100%.
At the end of the day. So, because we all want to know, and obviously you've spoken about it, but we need to know about, that second place in the Olympia and the debate over that. Because, when we look back at it, and not just with yourself, but there was, I think, who was someone else that came second? You came third to them. Who was that bodybuilder? He was quite distraught. I can't remember his names.
Flex Wheeler, Kevin Levrone,
and somebody else. He was.
Well, Flex Wheeler took his medal off. Hadi Chupin got second place from Iran.
I remember, but around your era, I think it was. I can't get.
It was Kevin. It was Kevin or Flex all the time. I know Nasser got the second one.
Nasser was really pissed. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
So
rightfully so.
I when I look back at that, it's rightfully so, that because that was a different mass monster, muscular wise. He was big. He actually made. Unfortunately, I'm just letting you know, made Dorian look small next to him. I mean, you can't help it. You just got to look at it and you go, like, that's big. You know what I mean?
Universally, most people agree with you.
Yeah. So how did you feel when you kind of felt like you should have? Many people said
listen,
you should have got first place, or you don't feel like?
When the show was over, man, I mean, that show was over. I'm on to the next.
Okay.
I didn't let that stuff stick. I let the people do the talking and complaining for me.
Okay.
But obviously, the longer you do it, the further away first place comes. It's no longer fun. But I was in a very good space when I got second in '94. Very good space in '96. Healthy. I felt like I can go out and run a marathon immediately after the show. I let the fans do the talking. And universally, a lot of people say it was a controversial decision, changed the direction of the sport of bodybuilding, purely a mass decision. What am I going to complain about? I'd never been second up until that point. And getting second in that '94 Olympia was everything to me. But it wasn't a sad moment. I wasn't dejected. I was dating a Victoria's Secret model, Brooke Burke, at the time. I was like, let's go eat. Let's go get something to drink. I was on top of cloud nine when I got second place, and I had $50,000 in my pocket. What was I going to cry about?
Yeah, no. Well, but it's amazing how everyone else's problems, they make it sound like it's your problem, but you didn't have a problem.
It wasn't a problem for me.
There you go. It's good to clear up, because I wasn't sure, because of the way it sounded. Not that it was a problem for you, but like you said, everyone's making all the noise. You're not. But again, on the Jay Cutler podcast, you spoke about you training, doing all this on your own, no coach, no team, where most didn't, right? And that was your journey, that everyone is their own artist, that you can only paint and you can only visualize what you see, and you couldn't have the ears to hear what anyone else had to say, how much sleep, what your body work progress was. It was all yours. And you didn't realize 100%. And then when you left, you did realize then a little bit that you were a little bit of a unicorn when you stepped further away. So what about that one where you didn't have a coach?
Yeah, because it's a lost art, isn't it? I mean, you very rarely, if ever, hear of that. It's not a common occurrence. I didn't know what Flex and Chris and Kevin were doing. I know they worked with people. I know Flex and Chris both worked with Chad Nichols along with Ronnie Coleman. I had no idea who Lee Haney was working with, or Labrada, or I didn't care. Like, this was my thing, right? So I learned by watching John, who never had a coach. He idolized and was mentored by Serge Nubret. But by then, Serge Nubret was retired, and John Brown was retired when I was doing my thing. So John wasn't on the phone saying, how many calories did you have today? And you need to eat fish, and you need to do an hour of cardio, and let's go, wake up, you're late for the gym. I didn't have that. I didn't have some guy saying, how you look, send me a video, take a picture, meet me. I didn't have that. It was me painting my picture of what I wanted to look like at my pace, on my timeline, me deciding if I'm going to eat vegetables or if I'm going to eat carbs, how much I'm going to drink, how much I'm going to sleep. It just seems so simple. It just seemed like this is what I do. I'm a professional bodybuilder. Who's going to come and tell me what to do? I'm the guy. So now when I look at the guys doing it, it's very hard for me to relate to, because that's not how I did it. I'm not bitter. It just, to me, just sounds like, are those people getting paid? Like, are you paying someone to tell you how many calories you need to eat? Because if you want to pay somebody, pay me. I'll tell you how many calories to eat. I mean, but it's so elementary that I just don't know if you're paying for the support, right? The mental support, because we now know about this whole mental thing that never existed, about mental health and all this mental wellness. It's a totally different universe. But I just think that they don't want to go down that road alone. And I was a warrior. I was a wolf. I didn't want other people in my business. They didn't get to come into my home and see what I was eating. And they didn't get to see, when I didn't have a set time that I was going to be at the gym that you can come and watch me or encourage me. I just did the shit. I did it, and I didn't think about it. When today's over, tomorrow's a new day. So I don't care how many calories I ate. I don't care how much weight I lifted. Tomorrow's going to bring something different. And that's what kept it fresh for me.
Do you think, can they do it today? Can anyone do it can anyone reach wait a minute, can anyone reach your level, not anything lower, your level, get a number 2 in Olympia with no coach, no team, no one? Can they?
I think if you never had it, it's hard to miss what you never had, right? Like I came in with some encouragement with a guy that knew nothing about dieting, knew everything about kicking ass in the gym. John didn't have a script.
It's okay
John didn't have a script.
Yeah, it's okay to have people like that.
I was a sparring partner.
Yeah.
And that's what I said about Derek Lunsford. I'm like, you don't need a coach. You already won the Olympia. Get somebody that'll kick your ass in the gym. That's what I wanted. That's what I went looking for that. I was like, I would go from gym to gym looking for someone that wanted to go to war. And it wasn't like I'm Billy Badass. Just either hang with me or try to beat me. Like, do as many reps, do as much weight. And I won the battle in the gym training hard. And in the kitchen was easy. The rest, I'm sleeping. I'm growing while I'm resting. Can it be done? It can, if you are not already previously predisposed to some guy that takes a clipboard and tells you what you need to eat. You think if John Brown will sit me down and tell me what to eat, I would fall out of my chair with a heart attack and die, because he didn't know what the hell he was going to eat from one meal to the next. And most of the time, it was hamburger helper, it was meat and spaghetti, it was McDonald's. He drank a lot of Coca-Cola. He ate a lot of French fries. I mean, this guy was a junk food junkie, and I could never eat that food and look the way that I wound up looking. So that was something I had to
go to nightclubs.
Yeah, but he'd go to nightclubs, but he wasn't going to nightclubs to drink.
No, but what I'm saying is many wouldn't. No, but many wouldn't get. You don't see bodybuilders going out having a good time, even if they don't drink. It's not like you go. Like what I'm saying is, I said to someone once, it's not like when you go to the NFL, like the Super Bowl, and they show all the celebrities. It's not like you'll see Derek Lunsford there, like because that's what I'm saying is where celebrities turn up to be seen. You'd go there.
Oh, hell yeah. And I did.
John Brown will go there.
Yeah, we did.
You know what I mean? And that's because you build brand. Well,
this is where that mental health, I think, is really affecting a lot of the guys today, because they limit themselves from experiencing things to take their mind off of what it is they're trying to do. I would go to concerts. I would go to sporting events. I would go to nightclubs. And then when I was in the gym, I was at war. I was Mike Tyson all over again. But if a bodybuilder is not predisposed to some guy that's trying to create the master plan to get to the Olympia, where you've got to listen to me and I got to own your mind and you need to respond to my texts. You need to send me videos. You need to FaceTime me. You need to show me what you're eating. You need to show me what your body fat is. Show me what your weight is today. Give me your measurements. You get some guy in your head like that. It's like someone taking over your soul. Who is that guy over there that's more in love with me trying to become Mr. Olympia than me? I wanted to be Mr. Olympia. Somebody else can't want that for me more than I want it for myself. Not to mention, most coaches have more than one client. So whatever he's telling you, he hangs up with you and he goes to somebody else. That's his job. That's how he gets paid. I don't want that.
I found it also strange. I did find it strange that the number 1 and 2 had the same coach. I don't understand that. Like, what I'm saying is, Hani is a great coach. I get that, and he's got all the accolades to show it. I'm not going to take that away. But when you got, let's say Derek has a different coach, which he has now. I think he has Chris Cormier. But let's say you got a different coach. Because they're the same coach, it's kind of like coach against coach, athlete against athlete. I think that's healthier. But when you've got the same coach for 1 and 2, how do you choose? There's got to be some favoritism. There's got to be someone you like. There's got to be something.
Let me just tell you, it's all Chinese to me. Like, I'm out of the game. I don't give a shit.
Okay.
Because I think these athletes have dumbed down the role that they have in this sport by turning everything over to a coach that's working with all these other people, as if you don't know. Educate yourself, learn your body, right? Like study, read up, monitor yourself, and take ownership of what you do. I call it the dumbing down of bodybuilding, and I just can't wrap my hands around it. Now, am I going to blame the coach, or am I going to blame the athlete? I don't have a horse in the race. I'm not getting paid one way or the other. So it's an observation to me that makes me not as passionate or even excited about the end product, because I know this athlete didn't do this by himself.
But the thing is, like I said to you, I've seen where, like I said, this is the 1 and 2, let's say, in the world, and they've got the same coach. To me, I think, in boxing, what's his name? Castamato, whatever it was.
Castamato.
Imagine Castamato saying to Mike Tyson, all right, I'm going to come and talk to you quickly over on that corner, but I've got to go to the other fighter.
Yeah.
And I've got to go to that guy and talk to that guy. It's like, that's ridiculous. Like, which boxer are you? You go in the corner and you scream your fucking head off and you tell him, you find out his weaknesses. So isn't it better that if someone said to Derek Lunsford, I know his weakness, I'm going to tell you his weakness, and you're going to go against the weakness and take.
But here's the difference. Here's the difference in that. It's not a boxing match, right? It's a physique show.
Oh, but it's still. But I'm just using it as an analogy.
I get it. Well, here's my thing. I had no resemblance to Flex Wheeler, physique wise. I had no resemblance to Kevin Ferroni.
No.
And Ronnie Coleman. I'm not going to say Dorian because I never beat Dorian or Chris Cormier. There's nothing similar about our physiques. So even if I knew what their weaknesses were, it doesn't benefit me. The only thing I can control is what I'm looking at in the mirror, and I don't need someone running from me to go work with Flex, to go work with Chris, to go work with Kevin, and I'm trying to beat them. That's me. Yeah. And guess what? Guess what? I beat them all, and they were working with coaches.
Yeah.
They did have coach. They had Charles Glass. They had Chad Nichols. They needed that. They would never be who they were. Ronnie Coleman to this day says he would never have been Mr. Olympia without Chad Nichols coming to his rescue. Good for Ronnie. He may be 100% accurate, 100% right. He has 8 Sandows, and Chad was there working with him. He's giving him his props. But guess what? When Ronnie decided to do whatever it was he did in 1998 to beat all of the guys that beat him for the past 5 years consecutively, I would never do. I have limitations on what I was willing to do with my body. So I couldn't just drop the hammer to go to the next level. I didn't have the volume. I didn't have the height. Ronnie did. And he was willing to put his life on the line and take the risks that I would never take. Flex Wheeler take the risks that I would never take. They all were taking risks with their coaches because their coach is not them. So I know my body better than anybody else. The only way that I messed my body up and my prep up is if someone else gives me something, tells me something, or wants me to do something. That's how I screw my orientation up. And guess what? For those 12 consecutive top 5 finishes, I arguably was harder in some, a little bit softer in others, but I was healthy, and I owned it.
Well, on that podcast with Jay Cutler. What's his co-host called? I forgot the guy's name.
Oh, Manager Matt.
Yep. He knows a lot. What's his gig? I'm a Nazi. I don't know him.
He helps bodybuilders out. He manages them. He's Manager Matt. He goes around and tries to get appearances.
Okay.
Just like Jay, he tries to do all the heavy lifting for these guys, scheduling their appearances and traveling with them and making life easier for them.
Okay, so obviously he asked you a question. He goes, if you had a coach, would they have helped you pull water, and help you carb up? Would you have looked better, right? Something like that. And obviously you said no. You mentioned there was no more you could do. And you referred to Muhammad Banaziza, whatever his name was, and his passing, him chasing the dragon and dehydrating so far down that there was no coming back. And I've heard stories. And also Ronnie Coleman spoke about 2001 being on his deathbed. And then and I want you to tell us about that. But also I remember hearing Dorian Yates talk about his mistakes with insulin and people costing their lives with insulin, and that no one really knows the numbers, and there's numbers like 50 deaths and even deaths we don't know about. So this sport is fucking risky.
Yeah, it's chemical warfare at its finest.
Oh, there you go.
And it multiplies when you have someone else who's not taking the same risk. So if you have someone else telling you what you need to take and telling you what you should do, you're taking the advice not from a doctor, but from a guy who wants to see how it works.
Oh my God, not a doctor.
Some guy's telling you, look, let me try these 2 IUs of insulin on you. And I'm not medically built for insulin. I don't need insulin. My health doesn't require insulin. But I got you over here telling me it's going to put more size on you. It's going to make you harder. Take this much diuretics. It's going to make you harder. He's not taking it. He wants me to take it. So I'm taking on all the risk. And what is the risk for? A better placing? More prize money, a possibility to win. Listen, I knew I was 5'7", 210 pounds. I was under no illusion at any given time that another 5 pounds was going to make me a bigger, better bodybuilder and close the gap on Ronnie and Dorian. Those were the guys that were beating me. I'd beaten Flex. I beat Kevin. I beat Chris. So we were all taking turns beating each other. I even beat Paul Dillette. So on any given day, we could beat each other based on what the judges were going to reward. But it absolutely had nothing to do with me not being 10 or 15 pounds bigger. I saw Muhammad Banaziza add extra size after he beat Dorian in 1990, but he wound up dying as a result of trying to get dry. I wasn't trying to die for this sport. I love bodybuilding, but I wasn't going to die for it, number one. Number two, I didn't think there was anybody out there smarter than me to know what I needed to take or put in my body. And if I'm going to take a risk, it's going to be my risk. It's not going to be the risk that you have me rolling. We aren't going to win. I'm going to win, and that's going to be it. And that's just kind of how I saw it. I'm going to lose. If we lose, it's going to be because of me. I'm not going to lose because of you.
You also had a video talking about the day with Shawn Ray, and obviously you like your coffee black. You like your coffee. But you spoke about you never counted calories. You never. No. Can I just, maybe we can break a little bit of a myth. There wasn't anything about calorie counting back then, really. There wasn't. I know when we talk about 2000s and we talk about Jay Cutler and everyone else, but do you think the food industry bringing calories so you can go to McDonald's and stay inside your calories? So junk food became healthy, where once upon a time you knew what wasn't healthy, you knew what was healthy, you knew what was protein, you knew what was carbs, but now everyone can eat Cocoa Pops and go and compete because you're under the calorie count of what you're trying to achieve. So what do you think about the fact that I didn't count calories? And last thing I'll say, what about everyone believing that putting it in the bank, putting it here, putting it there, where I just knew, wasn't there also frequency? 5 meals a day, the pre-workout, the post-workout food, this food, that food, like everything wasn't calorie counting. It was just scheduling and knowing and seeing it and tasting it and feeling it and getting the pump. What do you think?
Well, I mean, bodybuilding it's very instinctive, right? I mean, there's no one, two of us that are alike. And I'm not the same height. I'm not the same weight. I'm not the same ethnic build. With totally different genetics, different desires. I may be training to get stronger in my chest. You might be training to build up your calves and your quads. I never likened this as a team sport. I didn't compare myself with other people getting ready for my show.
No.
I did it the Shawn Ray way.
You did.
I did it my way. So it's like sex.
Here we go. Chris, this could be a good hook bait. Just make it good.
Well, I'm just saying that when people, first of all, most people don't talk about sex, right? But they want to know what steroids you're taking.
And sometimes steroids can affect your sex.
I'm sure, just like alcohol, just like being obese,
Yes.
just like being dehydrated. I mean, you know, if you're hungry and you're thirsty, are you sexy? Are you horny? No,
exactly.
You're thirsty. You're thirsty and you're hungry, and you go to quench the thirst or satisfy your appetite.
And you're more
feeling horny.
You're more horny.
You go and have sex.
When you're horny, you're usually bulking up. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So, but I say it's like sex. I mean, people won't talk about sex the way they'll try to start talking about steroids. They find it no problem to ask a guy, tell me about your cycle. Well, I mean, how many people go, tell me about your sex life? You know, very rarely is that something that you ask another man. But it's very easy to get invasive. Tell me about your steroid cycle. Well, my steroid cycle would be very personal to me, the same way that my sex life would be. Correct?
Yeah.
You agree with that?
Yeah.
So if I told you I had sex 5 days a week, you might think I'm fucking nuts. What? You're having sex 5 days a week? I'm lucky if I get it 5 times a month.
Shut
5
up.
times
That's
a year.
unreal. That's unreal. I think it's unreal.
But listen, it can happen.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's people out there, we call them what? In love or sex addicts. Why are you an addict? Just because you're having sex every day. You're not an addict. If you're having sex every day, it's because you can. Well, in bodybuilding, I can eat 3,000, 4,000 calories a day because I can afford it, because I can make time to do it, because I can wake up at 5 and eat at 6, 9, 12, 3, 6. I can schedule it. But you know what? To schedule 6 meals every 3 hours, do you think that takes a thinking mind, some forethought, some planning, some scheduling?
Yeah, scheduling, yes.
You got to be meticulous. You got to be dedicated.
That's right.
Okay. So if you're not dedicated every 3 hours to get 6 meals in, day after day after day, do you think you're going to beat me when it comes down to putting on size?
That's right.
Am I going to gain this? And I'm going to have these kick-ass workouts sometimes twice a day, 6 days a week.
Yeah.
There's no way you're going to be me. So what do you care about what my steroid cycle looks like? You can't even eat the same amount of food I eat.
Well, they're counting calories and they're putting chocolate cake inside those calories. So at the end of the day,
well, what does calories mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. If you can't, all right. So you can have liquid calories, right? You can get your calories from candy. You can get your calories from potato chips.
Yeah.
You can get them from potatoes. How you get your calories can still add up to 5,000 calories a day. Crap calories are good if you're not able to do the work in the gym and feed the machine and get the rest and recovery. All the calories in the world are not going to translate to a muscular physique. So I don't care about what other people do. I really don't. I never have. Not to mention, when today's gone, I don't look back on it. Dorian Yates, on the other hand, he kept the journal. I got all my stuff that I did. I'm not sure what Dorian Yates' journal would do for me, the upstart bodybuilder, the teenager. Me reading Dorian's diary is not going to make me look like Dorian Yates. I'm sorry. He just trained at a different level. Forget about the food and the calories. What is that? That's garbage in and garbage out.
And probably, everyone's just looking at the surface level of someone pushing in the gym, but no one knows what they're doing behind the curtain, what they're doing in relation to sleep and eating. And I know myself too, that food is everything. And I just knew, like I said, I still to today, I'm just letting you know, still to today, I'm not comfortable eating at McDonald's. I'm not saying I won't eat it. I'm just saying I'm not comfortable. I'm always comfortable with my chicken and rice. I'm always comfortable with a clean meal. Why? Because I look at it as fuel for the vehicle. I like good petrol. That's why petrol, I use the analogy with a petrol tank. Do you know a 60 liters or whatever you want to call it, whatever gallons, I don't know. If fuel was just fuel, why would we have certain fuels for Formula One, certain fuels for drag cars, certain fuels where they say it's E10, we call it like less octane, this octane. It's because fuel from that petrol tank going into the motor does different things, different firing, different spark. It also, a mechanic once told me, it actually keeps that longevity going better for motor parts and bits and seals and all that with good fuel. So no one understands what fuel really means at the end of the day.
other side to that is, listen, I need my good fuel when I'm getting ready.
Yeah.
And I don't really care about the fuel when I'm just off season.
Of
So
course.
I put whatever I want. So I'm not paying attention to whether it's McDonald's chicken nuggets or whether it's a chicken breast with no seasoning on it, because it's a sport of appearance.
Yes.
If my shirt's not coming off and I'm not worried about my abs, I don't have a problem eating a McDonald's hamburgers and fries. But if I know I got an appearance and people are going to take pictures and I'm going to be measured and judged, then I'm better off eating the prime food, preparing it the way that I do at home rather than having it done by McDonald's.
What do you think about this time frame for pro cards now, and telling people you got 3 years or something? What is it? They've got an expiry date now. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think they backtracked on that. I'm
No,
not sure. They didn't? Oh, I don't know.
I don't know myself. I don't know.
Here's the thing. There's too many pro cards. It's no secret that I'm not a fan of all these pro cards.
Everyone's a pro, man. Everyone's a pro.
Qualifying first. Well, what happens is when you get a pro card, the first thing the athlete says is, I'm going to take a year off to put on more size. That is a common reaction. So you're giving a guy a pro card.
That's what I'm saying.
So they can say they're pros and then they don't compete. Then life takes over. So I don't know. It'd be nice if they kind of tightened it down, made it harder to get a pro card, had fewer pros and better quality on stage. That's what I think.
I think so too. The other thing you mentioned on the Jay Cutler show was that it wasn't an easy feat to even make it to the front door of bodybuilding. People just, like you're talking about something about, some people didn't even end up on Ed Connor's couch. People came from near and far. And sometimes they needed those people, the Ed Connors, they needed coaches because of, depression, eating disorders, dysphoria. I'm not saying they went there because they had that. What I mean is sometimes just to get to the front door, many didn't make it. It's not so easy to believe you can get, like, everyone has this Olympia dream, but just getting to first base is hard enough, and many didn't make it.
The illusion is that you get your pro card and everything's going to take care of itself. It's just an illusion.
Yes.
We had a place to go back in the day. We had a place to go. Gold's Gym in the 80s. You go there and listen, if the bodybuilding thing didn't work out, some of these guys wound up being bouncers in nightclubs. I remember when Rico, Flex, and Chris, they were bouncers at Roxbury's. At Roxbury's was the in spot on Hollywood, where all the hot celebrities went, the 90210 cast and all the people from different celebrity shows, and you rub elbows with the stars. Yeah, you're bouncing at a nightclub, but you're training at the world's #1 gym amongst all these other celebrities. And maybe being a pro bodybuilder didn't work out. You became a pro trainer. Charles Glass won the 1983 Mr. Universe and the NPC National Championships, made it to the Mr. Olympia, and then became a personal trainer. He still trains people from then till now. That's over 40 years. Charles Glass has been at Gold's Gym, trained Mike Christian, trained Flex Wheeler, trained Chris Cormier. He's trained everybody from Gunther Schlierkamp. They've all gone down there to train with Charles Glass. Charles is training guys that are competing today on the highest level. That was Charles's calling. Professional bodybuilding didn't work out for him. So just because you get a pro card doesn't guarantee you that rite of passage to the Olympia. It's still hollowed ground. And some people get there by happenstance, circumstance, and then they can't find their way back, which is why I feel very humble when I hear the accolades of being there in the top 5 for 12 years, because it's again something that hasn't been replicated. I'm in awe at what Dexter Jackson did. Dexter Jackson competed in the Olympia for 20 years. That's 2 decades. I did 13. Dexter did it for 20 years. I mean, there's some things we're just never going to see again. And no, I don't think we're going to see someone do 12 consecutive years on the top 5 of the Olympia. And when I was doing it, I didn't think I was doing anything special. It was just, that's where I wanted to be. That was my home. I was dedicated to it. Again, eating 6, 9, 12, 3, 6, 9, drinking the protein drinks, training twice a day, to and from Gold's Gym, getting beat up by guys in the gym, picking on the bigger bodybuilders. I was on the grind. I was a machine, but that was my life. And most people do not and cannot dedicate their life to that because they're getting there so much later in life. I got there at 22 years old. I retired at 35 from the bodybuilding stage. These guys are in their 40s competing. How old is Hadi Chupin's got to be 39 or 40 years old. Okay. Brandon Curry's got to be 40, 42 years old. William Bonus got to be north of 40. all of these guys. I mean, Samson's got to be 39, 40 years old. So they're competing longer, but it's taking longer for them to get there, and the window's shorter. We're not seeing those guys for the next, these guys aren't going to be there in the next 5 years.
Also, you break all records, the most featured on the Flex magazine as well. How do you feel about all that too?
That's all right. I mean, it wasn't an accomplishment I set out to do.
Still.
But when they induct me into the Bodybuilding Hall of Fame for the IFBB back in 2007,
the
late Peter McGough told me about that, and I thought, well, I finally beat Arnold Schwarzenegger or something.
Yes, you did.
That was kind of cool.
I was going to say all the Hall of Fames. I've got them written down somewhere, but I mean, you definitely you've got all these accolades that I just spoke about, but also some personal accolades. You were recognized by your school
I was literally the key to the city. I was the grand marshal for I think it was the third time, and they named a street after me where I come from in the city of Placentia here in Orange County. That street named after me, which represents my dad. So that street, it's a big deal. They took a lot of athletes that made good. Janet Evans, an Olympic swimmer, and Phil Nevin, baseball player. And it was nice to be in that company because I was the only pro bodybuilder to get a street named after me. And coming back as the Grand Marshal for the Heritage Day Parade, it reintroduces me to the younger generation coming up, getting the Ben Weider Lifetime Achievement Award.
Ben Weider Lifetime,
Dan Solomon presented that to me along with Lee Labrada. And Tim Gardner were both on the stage. That's a big accolade because, without Ben Weider, we don't have the IFBB. That's what I came up with. It's the International Federation of Bodybuilding. And the only one that kind of eludes me is the Arnold Classic one, but I see the people that Arnold gives that Lifetime Achievement Award to, and I'm in awe about those guys. I watched Flex Wheeler get one. He won that show.
I think
he won that 4 times. I believe it was who got he got Sylvester Stallone's in there, Linda Murray's in there, Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler. I'm not cut from that cloth on that level, but I emceed that show 8 times. This will be my 37th Arnold Classic. So my bodybuilding footprint has me very humble. And I'm just happy to be healthy, more importantly, because we have lost a lot of athletes.
You are very healthy. So tell us about what you're doing now. Tell us about your competitions. You're in Hawaii. You mentioned something about China. I don't know what you're doing, but all I know is you're like Pitbull. You're Mr. Worldwide for some reason.
Yeah, well, the one thing that Ben Weider told me to be a missionary for bodybuilding, right? And you go around and spread the gospel. And I got that from Joe and Ben. These are the guys that founded bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And you find something you love, you never work a day in your life. And of course, it's not going to come to me. I got to go there. So I'm emceeing a show over in Switzerland coming up here in April. I'll be over in Germany at the FIBO, which is the week after. I go out to Missouri to be a guest of honor for Jack Titoni at his show, April the 19th. I'll head out to Columbus, Ohio, February 27th to the 2nd for the Arnold Classic. I wound up out in Dubai twice this year. I'm representing a equipment company, Panada Gym Equipment.
Yeah, that's right. You got a relationship with Panada and Mutant as well. I've seen you wearing a little.
Global ambassador for Mutant. So I'm still spreading and sowing and planting the seeds of bodybuilding and fitness to the degree that, I exercise. I don't train. It's more important for me to feel a certain way rather than look a certain way, and that has to come with age. Last thing I want to do is get hurt. I'm a grandfather. I got 3 grandchildren. I got 3 daughters.
Yeah, wait a minute. I heard you said something about you have 2 daughters, and then 8 years later.
No, 8 years ago from now, I found out I had a daughter when I was in high school.
So wait a minute. You found out. What's this found out? Like it just seemed like it was like found out, and then the conversation changed. I need to hear this. What's this mean? What does this story entail?
So there's a thing called Ancestor.com. My daughter was on Ancestor.com. She entered her DNA into the system, and she matched up with my cousin, my uncle, my mom's youngest brother. His daughter was in Ancestor.com looking for my uncle's father because my mom and my uncle have 2 different dads.
Yep.
So she wanted to find out who she was, who her grandfather is. So she thought putting her DNA into Ancestor.com, she'll find a connection. Well, she matched up DNA with my daughter who was looking for her parents, me and the baby mama. Well, when my cousin matched up with her, they started talking back and forth. How are we related? And yada, yada, yada. And my cousin reached out to me and said, I'm talking to someone whose mother is from Placentia, whose mother went to El Dorado, whose mother is my age at the time. And I said, I know exactly who that is. Give her my phone number. My daughter called me and I said, is your mother's name Karen? And she said, yes. I said, I'm 99.9% I'm your father, but let's take a DNA test to find out. We took the DNA test, it came back. I'm an instant father to a third daughter who at the time, my daughter, I think she was 34, 35. And she was the mother of three.
You inherited three
kids.
Grandchildren, yeah.
I inherited three. So the other shoe fell 2 weeks later when my brother found out that he had a daughter while he was in college.
Oh, look at you guys! Is that?
So my brother?
I mean, it's a wonderful story, but I mean, you're a little bit loose there.
Well, listen,
Shawn, you're a little bit loose. I'd hate to know what's coming in the next 8 years, brother.
You never know. Okay. My brother found out he had a daughter when he was 20 in college. He also inherited three grand boys. My brother Chuck, he's 1 year older than me. And then last year, or was it earlier this year, Bob Ciccarello, the MC for the Olympia, he just found out that he had a 30-year-old daughter.
What the hell are you guys bodybuilders doing over there, mate? Stop going to nightclubs and announcing your fucking names. But
how crazy is that? I'm just saying. I mean, I was 15 when I was out there doing my thing, and I inherited a daughter.
Well, it's funny because, I mean, I'm not going to mention who we had on last time, but he was telling us how, unfortunately, he lost his virginity very late in life, but obviously not Shawn Ray, not Shawn Ray. Nope.
I'm out there.
You're out there.
Listen, at the end of the day, life will throw lemons at you. You got to make lemonade.
Yeah,
I love that. I consider myself lucky. I got friends out there that don't have children for whatever reason, but for me, it's a gift. I have friends out there that have lost children.
Yeah. At 30 and at 36, it was very important for you to start a family, you were saying as well.
Yeah, and I just kind of thought it was the missing link. You have to have. I was leaving something that was very important, a big part of my life that would have left a pretty big hole.
Yeah.
And to become a father at the time that I did, it filled a big vacuum for me. And I got to tell you, as a promoter, I have a very strong connection with everybody that comes through my show because it follows them all the way into the pros, right? And I have several athletes that have gone on to the pro ranks. I promote a pro-am show now. And so I see the starting block of someone's career right there in Hawaii doing their thing. Yeah. And I write that out. I love it.
It could have gone the other way. You could have looked at it as a negative. You could have ignored it. You could have been a prick about it. Like the first question I've got here, it's from Resurgence Lifestyle, and he writes, what's something he's glad? It's a crazy question. What's something he's glad he failed at? Wait a minute. But what did it teach him, and how has he processed that since in learning it?
Yeah, I mean, as a bodybuilder, clearly 1990s failed drug test. I mean, is there anything more disappointing than failing a test after you won the competition? I mean, it was kind of bungled. They should have got the test results back before they got the bodybuilding, before they did the awards. But they gave the awards and then they got the test. So it was really, you're on cloud nine, and then the next thing you know, you're like at the bottom, starting all over again. I failed that drug test.
Could it be?
And that wasn't something I planned for. And I didn't plan on failing that.
Could you say that's conspiracy?
I'm not going to call it a conspiracy, although I let other people.
Can I call it? I'm thinking to myself, how do I not pay Shawn Ray $60K? You know what? Failed drug test.
Yeah.
Maybe.
There could have been a whole lot of stuff going on. I rather leaned on the idea and the fact that, listen, I didn't feel anything. I never had it. I don't know what it would have felt like to receive it because I did. What if they had given me that money? I cashed the check and I spent it, and then they asked for it back. That would have been a problem. You know what I mean? So for me, failing a drug test is a failure. Coming back and winning again is a success. So I dealt with it in a way that this is manageable. It's not the end of the world. And I knew that I wasn't going to win all those shows. I think I got a video after I won the national. I said, I'll probably lose more shows than I win going forward because I know the Olympia is not something for everyone. and I spent 13 times trying to win that Olympia, and I never did. The only reason I was able to compartmentalize that is because I understood the gravity of the crown. I knew that it's not for everyone, and most likely at my size, I probably wouldn't be Mr. Olympia. But you know what? I'm going to give everything I can to try to make it happen. And when it didn't, I didn't feel like a failure. I felt like, I overcame a lot of obstacles in 13 years of trying.
No, it's, yeah. No, can I just ask, because you're a public figure, how did you handle knowing that the world could see this and it was talked about? Like, how did you, I find I've struggled just with social media when it goes pear-shaped. How did you feel? How did you feel when the world?
I didn't run from it. Probably because the most people in our industry, like you said, thought it was a conspiracy. They thought the whole thing was bullshit. They thought I was singled out. Everyone knew that most of the guys that were bigger than me were taking steroids. They thought the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like looking at a woman with breast implants. you know they're fake, but you can't take your eyes off them because they look so real.
And then you pick a lady, you say, right, they're fake tits, but not looking at everyone else's fake tits.
Yeah, there's a lot of hypocrisy in this failed drug test that, to be honest with you, I did everything I could do to pass the drug test by coming off early enough. And that was all I could do. So it was a gamble, because really, if I didn't want to fail the drug test, I should have never done it in the first place. So I rolled the dice. I failed. I crapped out. But in this sport of bodybuilding, where drugs run rampant, I didn't feel any more guilty than anybody else. So I didn't point the fingers. I didn't call anybody out. But I didn't really feel any kind of way. You know why? The magazines continued to glamorize the fact that I looked the way that I looked.
Oh, yeah.
No one pointed fingers at me. Nobody ostracized me. I was welcome.
No. I think, like they say, bad media is sometimes good media. I don't know. The next question is, and I think this person's trying to grow themselves in the industry of bodybuilding. It says, how does one person increase their connections in the bodybuilding industry? And I think how you can answer this as well. Do you believe this? I was telling somebody recently, I said, the moment you sexualize yourself online, it's game over. Business is finished for you. What advice would you give people about going beyond what the sport is giving them and branding themselves? Yeah, how do you connect that? How do you grow in this industry? How do they grow their brand without bending over doing, an RDL, but the camera's facing in the wrong direction?
Well, I can't talk as an influencer. I mean,
but that's what's happening. But that's what's happening.
Yeah. Well, the door's open because my body of work. All right, I was a competitor first. And I think Jay Cutler can say the same thing. Ronnie Coleman's not the prettiest guy in the world, but doors open because he was dominant.
Yes.
Flex Wheeler's doors open because he was just a work of art. The guys coming up in my era were glamorized and had opportunity because we were so good. We did the work.
You did.
I don't know how to manufacture publicity for myself. Like my social media, I run it. I post what I like. I say what I want. I'm not doing it trying to ride the wave of algorithms, or I'm not trying to build up my social media following. I hardly post on my YouTube channel, although I have it. I just put whatever I want to put out there. But the social media for me is not a business. Me going to the Arnold Classic 37 consecutive years.
Yeah,
me going to the Mr. Olympia 38 years in a row.
That's what I heard. Yes, go on to talk about that.
Me going to the LA Convention Center for the LA Fit Expo for the past 20 years. Yes. It's only been around 20 years. I don't miss the things that I love. I go. And most people say, you know what? I don't have money for the plane ticket. Well, guess what? I know these things are coming. I put them on my calendar. They're places I want to be, because when I put myself in a place of opportunity presents itself because I'm available. No one's looking for Shawn Ray if I'm not at that Mr. Olympia or at the Arnold Classic. Who knows who I'm going to run into? Who knows what opportunities are going to present themselves? Well, you know why? I'm in my industry. Do you think when the Grammy Awards come and the Oscar Awards come that everyone wins? There are people there watching their peers receive awards that they're not even nominated for. They're showing support. They're there supporting, so they can network with other producers, talk with other actors, walk the red carpet, do the junkets, do the promos, promote their next video. I may not be nominated for the Grammy Award this year, but you know what? I'm working on an album, and I'm here to talk to one of these other producers that is here, who is nominated. So as an athlete, you have to go where the action is. You know, Gold's Gym out here used to be the place. It's gone now. It doesn't really, you don't have to go to Gold's Gym. But these shows are all over the world. The FIBO, this will be my 30th FIBO that I'm going to. My first one was in 1988. I've been going to Germany for 30 years.
Yeah.
In Germany, at this expo, it's all equipment, it's all supplements, it's all clothing, it's all athletes. That's where that's home for me.
Yeah.
I'm meeting people from Finland, from Sweden, from Belgium, from Italy. That's where they conjugate. The Arnold Classic, 200,000 people, 22,000 athletes. This is a 4-day event. Why wouldn't I be there? I'm a retired Hall of Fame bodybuilder. That's
Hall of Fame,
home for me. When I was competing, I was going. So when you say, what can I do? Go where like-minded people are and spend your time around the people that you like to, that you admire, that you enjoy. And that's what I do. I go to the local shows here in California. I go to shows in Vegas. You find me all over the world because I'm a bodybuilding fan first. I'm a promoter second. I'm a spokesman. I'm an ambassador. I'm an endorser. So I go where the business is.
I was just thinking about everything you just said and how much we miss opportunity. You know, opportunity. I'm gonna go outside of bodybuilding, but I went to a musical with my daughter. She just rang me that day. She goes, "Oh," because she's in performing arts, my daughter, and she said, "Oh, can we go see Jesus Christ Superstar?" And I said, "Yeah, let's go." You know, like I wasn't prepared, and a lot of things were going on at the time. And it was funny when we went there. And we sat down, we watched it. Obviously, I catered to everything to be there. And she goes, "Can we go down the back to see my friend that had a part in the show?" And I said to her, "Is he going to remember you from the college, from the Performing Arts College?" And she looked at me like, "Yeah." Yeah, all right, let's go. We went around, and there he was. He came out, and you know when they come out after doing their 20th show, 12 weeks, there's not many people there. As soon as he saw Ruby, he was so happy to see her. He goes, "Oh, Ruby, man, how I hug." But then when we were walking away, Ruby goes, "Did you see that other guy back there?" She didn't go for that. She goes, "Did you see the guy there a few places back?" She goes, "Yeah, he's the number one producer to a lot of musical theatre." I said, and he said hello to Ruby. And one of her teachers said, the smallest person in the room, make them feel welcome, make them feel big. Don't throw attitude because you don't know where you're going to see. Here we are in a back alley where the doors are opening. It's in Chinatown, in the city, middle of the night. Nothing's going on. There's not many people there, but she goes, "Yeah, there's a number one producer." And he goes to her, "Hello, Ruby." And I'm like,
"Yeah, well, you know, the bodybuilding world is so small. I've made friends for 40 years in this game that I see once a year because I do go back and I go to Germany, because I do go to Columbus, Ohio, because I do go to Mr. Olympia when it rolls around, and I do support the local and other professional shows. And these relationships have led to far more than a trophy on a stage. These are friends that will show up at my funeral. These are people whose funerals I'll go, whose babies' births that I go to, whose children I've watched grow up. I mean, I've made a circle of friends in this industry because I go to the events and I support and I cheer on, I sponsor, I promote. I mean, you're not going to be able to build your connections and build a network watching on your iPhone at home, scrolling through Instagram. Not that didn't exist for me back in the day.
And I know we've spoken about you coming to Australia. We've got to do it because Australia's been left behind. Trust me, Australia it's like a sleeping giant at the moment. There's so much going on in bodybuilding right now here. We've got some great athletes, but there's nothing exciting anyone here. Like it seems we need to do something where people can feel welcomed again by you guys, by the
and educated. Might not do a seminar, bring out a couple of pros and have a symposium and tell them how to do it. We did it. We lived it.
But nobody. That's what I'm saying to you. That nobody's. Yeah, we need that. I can tell we do need it, and Australian bodybuilders need it. You spoke about you don't do much with your YouTube, but what about this build with pros? And also, what about loving your hot skins, man? What was the fashion back then, brother?
It was the fashion. You know, I didn't like to wear baggy shorts, and I certainly didn't want to show off my body. So wearing spandex, which was like a second skin, or long socks all the way up to my hips, I like that because they were comfortable and they were flexible. But I created Build with Pros with a buddy of mine out of Denmark, Michael.
Yeah.
And all it is a video footprint of my mindset, and I break it all down. You know, I get text messages and emails. How do I do for my chest? What do I do for my back? Well, I laid it all out on the website, www.buildwithpros.com. And some people are disenchanted with their motivation. So I have some motivational angles on there. I've got some dietary tips. I got training tips. And it's easier if you're watching it on video than reading a little script. So I made a video series, and it's pretty innovative and it's popular. And I think any question that you would have of me regarding building your physique or my mindset, it's there.
Okay. So I'm going to, because we're coming to the end, I'm going to narrow this down. Now, with the Olympia, I don't know how far back we can go. Tell me your favorite, let's not put you in this, but let's look at your favorite 80s competition year and that one athlete. Which one in the 80s? Pick one.
Yeah, it'd be the 83 Olympia, because that was my introduction.
Yep.
You know, I started lifting weights to become a bodybuilder in 1983. And when that happened, Samir Banu just so happened to be winning the Mr. Olympia.
Is that the one he won? Is that the one he won?
That's the one he won. Yeah.
Yeah.
He beat Muhammad McCalloway and a young Lee Haney who was coming off the national championships in the universe. And the irony of it and why it sticks out, because it's like first, right? Your first kiss, your first love, your very first, my first Olympia that I saw. I wasn't there. This was in Munich. But paying attention to that first Olympia in the magazines and seeing Samir in the gym at Gold's and working out and realizing that he wasn't 7 feet tall and 400 pounds, that this is a guy that I like, maybe I can grow up and be his size one day. And then to call him a friend today, he's my friend.
Yeah.
I have his phone number. We talk on the phone, we eat, we go to bodybuilding shows, and I interview him. And it's a kick to think that someone like him would be still in my universe at this age. I will be 60 years old this September.
Well, how's that? How does it feel? How does that feel?
It's another day, man. I still feel like a teenager, but talking about Samir Banu, I feel like a teenager because it seems like yesterday when I saw him, and I thought he was like the last short Mr. Olympia in 1983, because then came Lee Haney, Dorian, and then Ronnie, and then of course I retired, right? So Samir being a friend of mine and knowing his journey from Lebanon, because his journey is even more far-fetched than mine ever was, coming from Lebanon to Detroit, being on the Powerhouse Gym family with Norm and Will and Crystal Dabish, to him moving out to Santa Monica, training at World's Gym, and being able to see him work out and then compete with him. I competed against him. He was in that 1990 Arnold Classic. He was in the Mr. Olympia in 1988 when I was there.
Oh, wow.
And I have this long storied history with Samir Banu, and my first glimpse at Mr. Olympia was him. Wow. And I became friends with Chris Dickerson, who won the year before in 1982. I mean, my fondest memories of bodybuilding are when I first started out. The things I did as a bodybuilder and the people I did it against, it's all kind of blurry to me. I just remember being that young, hungry kid, smelling the magazine when it opened up and studying Robbie Robinson's bicep peak and Albert Beckel's bicep peak and Boyer Coe. These were people that I became friends with. So how cool is that you become friends with guys that are mythical? These guys were mythical to me. Joe Weider signing my check, Arnold Schwarzenegger handing me my trophy. I mean, there's nothing else I need to really do in bodybuilding that can top what I've already done.
Well, you introduced 202, brother. You did, like, I mean, that's big. No, I'm talking about, like, there's stuff people do that you just look. You know, bodybuilding is a journey, and then we have destinations. The Olympia, destination Arnold's competing, destination family with bodybuilding. Like, you were the bodybuilder, right? Bodybuilding, but the destination 202. I mean, how many people can also say they've done that?
I mean,
come on.
Giving life to those guys' careers was that's pretty cool. And beyond that, just being able to promote my show in Hawaii, which is paradise, for the past 8 years. I certainly I certainly am not overlooking the idea that, it's hard to create something, right? It's hard to be original and come up with something. So the creation of the 202 that's now morphed into the 212, those are some fond years when David Henry won the very first one and Kevin English won the three after that. And then, of course, they bumped it up after that, and Flex Lewis came along with the 212. That's very nostalgic because the people that helped make that possible, Joe and Ben, are no longer with us, right? The editor that pretty much helped facilitate me to get all those cover shots on Flex magazine, he's no longer with us, Peter McGuff. So there are some people that have come along. Larry Scott, I mean, I got a chance to hold the crown. The 1966-65 Mr. Olympia award was a crown. It was a crown.
Okay.
I went up to interview him in his office, and I walked in. I said, "That's the crown. That's the Olympia crown." To me, it was the Holy Grail, right? It was like the 10 Commandments. Yeah. And I took it off the shelf, and I'm standing there holding the crown. And I'm looking Larry right in the eye. We're the same height, right? I always thought he was like 5'9". I'm looking. I'm going, I thought you were 5'9". You were supposed to be taller than me. I mean, and then of course Sergio Oliva, 1998. I'm backstage at the Mr. Olympia, and I'm hamming it up with Sergio Oliva on one side of me. Samir's on the other side. Sinbad's the master of ceremonies. I mean, I don't know what's left for me in this bodybuilding sport other than promoting the supplements and the gym equipment that I love, and my show out in Hawaii. But I really feel that the nostalgia of it far outweighs wherever we're going to go. I don't think we'll ever be able to grab those moments with those legendary, iconic bodybuilders that really were the reason why I got out of bed for this sport, because it's evolving.
I think being you're a businessman and I'm a businessman too. I don't think we can buy anybody's, like, you either work or you buy a business or you create something. And I think you get very good satisfaction that you implement something into the world that was never there and you created it. And I think that's a different level of business. That doesn't necessarily, and to create, monetize it, to be able to bring income from it is another achievement. And that's where I think that's why you are, in a sense, the unicorn of and a standout in relation to this sport, is because you don't buy your way in. You make a place for you. You are you. This is my place. This is you make a home inside the sport. And I don't think you're done yet. I don't think, like I said, I can't see you. There's people that just sign checks right to the end. There's people that create things right to the end. But tell me something, in the 90s, what was the Olympia besides, what was a standout one year? What was the 90s?
One of my best memories is the 99 Olympia. One of my highly viewed posing routines was to the Mariah Carey. Granted, most people would say 94 when I got second, or 96 when I got second. They were both a little anticlimactic, but in 1999, I posed to Mariah Carey, and that song is like 3.5 minutes long. Like, I think they only give you a minute to pose nowadays, but I posed for like 3.5 minutes. I didn't mean to miss a beat from the first beat to the end of that song. I wound up in 5th place. I thought I was going to get 3rd. Chris Cormier was 3rd. Flex Wheeler was 2nd, and Kevin Lavroni was 4th. But it didn't matter where I placed that year. It was a contest I was getting ready for that I almost thought I wasn't going to make. I had injured my hamstring about 3 weeks out from the show, and I thought I was never going to be able to make it to the stage. Thank God I made it to the stage. But that music, that song, I felt like when I go back and I look at all of my routines, I look at that one and I go, how the hell did I pull that off? Because half of it was choreographed.
Keep talking. Go on.
Half of it was improvised. So I kind of got lost when I was trying to do it, and then I wung it the last half. And that to me was awesome, because I think that might have been close to one of the last times we were at Mandalay Bay, or the first time we were at Mandalay Bay.
I'm just having a look here. Where are you?
Yeah, the number of views on that one kind of supersede all the other ones I had for my.
What are you talking about? There's nearly 600K.
There's some of them that have millions. There's different channels out there.
Oh yeah, no, that one's one channel. I'm trying to find the. But it was. Are you wearing the red? Are you wearing the red jock?
Yeah, I have the red on. Yeah, I have the red.
Let's see if I can get through the ad. 1 second. let's not doing that. I got to look at it while you're here because we've got a
99 was a good time. That was the first time I think we were at Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. So I was really excited about that show. It was a good time.
Oh, look at that.
That's my jam.
Oh, look at you. Man, how big are your fucking legs there?
Yeah, I was in shape. The guys were just bigger than me, right? I mean, I was very close to where I needed to be, but you know, Ronnie, those guys are big boys.
Was that your biggest?
No, 98. The year before, I was at my biggest.
That is big, man. I mean, look at you, man. Honestly, talk about
takes me back.
Talk about slick. I love it. And all right, what about now into 2000? Between 2010, which was an Olympia that's a standout. I know that, you know, it doesn't have to be you in it, but you think, oh, really like that Olympia, like the athletes or the athlete that was there.
Yeah, well, when Phil Heath beat Jay Cutler, I thought that was amazing because, you know, Phil, he beat his idol. Remember, Phil won my show to win his very first pro show. And, you know, Jay Cutler, like John Brown, told Phil Heath, you know what, you could be a Mr. Olympia. You keep training hard when he won the USAs. And to watch Phil come up and take Jay out was a very memorable weekend to see that happen. I was happy to be a part of watching that and being close to the action. And then, you know, Jay, of course, he was one of the great ambassadors of the sport of bodybuilding. Yeah. But to see Phil arrive, I think that was in 2011 or 10. I'm not sure what year that was. But Jay was on the way out and Phil was next in line. So that was the right pecking order back in those days.
And what about just before COVID, the 2010 to 2000 and early 2020? What was a standout then?
You know, I was there with Sean Roden beat Phil Heath, and I thought rightfully so. Phil's stomach had gotten some pretty good distension. You know, Sean's arms, or triceps, I should say, not his arms, because he got good biceps, but his triceps weren't measuring up. But Sean was just more overall complete because we couldn't get around the herniated stomach that Phil was having. And no one thought they would take the title away from Phil. You know, everyone kind of thought Sean deserved it, but you know what? That sinking feeling of Dorian Yates years and Ronnie Coleman years, the judges are going to give it to the defending champion. And when they gave it to Sean Roden, I think we were all just like, finally, the judges are being fair. Not only did Sean deserve it, but they actually did the right thing. And as an athlete, that's all you want. That's all you want from the judges. You want them to do the right thing. Phil's a great ambassador, but Sean was the winner that night, and they gave it to him. So that was huge.
It's sad what happened to Shawn Ray. I was just looking at it too. I mean, I heard him do a speech that went for 12 minutes. It's probably one of the best speeches I've ever heard. I don't know. Have you ever heard the speech he's made?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, listen. I watched him turn pro. I think it was 2009 when he won the North America Championships. I helped bring him on board with his very first sponsorship with Vertargo Generate here in California when he just starting his career off. But he got all the way to where he needed to be, and it's tragic that it ended the way it did.
Yeah, no, very sad.
It's, you know, it reminded me of kind of like Kobe Bryant, right? Like right when Kobe got to a place in his life, it just was all taken away from him. So you just never know what the next venture is going to hold for you around the corner.
No. And what about the last few years? What's been what you've?
I mean, it's tough. The last few years, I'm glad that the title's been changing hands. Right, we watched Hadi Chupin come in there, and then we saw Derek come in, and now we have Samson in there. I'm glad to see that this title's been moving around because I came up in an era where the Mr. Olympia could have showed up in a wheelchair and he still would have won. So I think the judging has gotten better. I think the athletes are making it harder on the judges, but the judges so far, at least the last 3 years, have been spot on.
They've been spot on. They've been spot on. Now, if we put all the number ones in a lineup right back to, well, like I'm just saying, who do you think is the overall, from Ronnie Coleman to Phil Heath to Jay Cutler to Lee Haney to just the number ones? I mean,
Ronnie Coleman. Listen, and we could talk about which Ronnie Coleman, but in 2001 at the Arnold Classic, I thought Ronnie Coleman was at his all-time best. But Ronnie's had several different years where he was phenomenal on the Olympia stage. Granted, like most Mr. Olympias, towards the end of their career. They're not as good as they once were. But what Ronnie brought to the Olympia stage, we probably will never see again.
And why can't anyone be 8? Why is 8? Why is 8 Olympia wins? Like, how do they get there again? How can it ever happen?
I don't think we will get there again. There's some things that we're just not going to see. We were just lucky we saw them. We lived in an age where we could actually see it. Most of these bodybuilders don't even have an 8-year career. So to win the Olympia 8 times is just it's not going to happen. When you say it's not going to happen, it's probably not going to happen. The body just is not built for what the guys are doing to it.
And what about, last question, then I'm going to go over the body with you. What about all the different divisions now, like Fit Model coming on board and bikini? And I mean, the girls have taken over. You know that the girls have taken over.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's diminishing returns in everything. If you oversaturate something, eventually you're not going to have any stars, right? Everybody's a star, right? Everybody's equal. Here's your card. Here's your pro card. Here's your pro card. And then people are going to turn to something different. And so with all of these new divisions, you're turning to the newest division, and it'll be a shiny new toy for a while, and then we're going to have to create another one. I don't know that it's necessary. You know, we added the wheelchair division, and I just don't know. We got rid of the teenage division, and, you know, you got to be optimistic that maybe these new divisions will catch fire and lightning in a bottle, but I just think we've oversaturated the market for what we're actually looking at. We made the shows longer. But let's give it a chance. I wasn't a big fan of the men's physique, but there's a lot of athletes that are loving it. So just because I don't like it doesn't mean that there's not wheels.
And not to I don't know, but what about Nick Walker's had a bad 2 years, or an unfortunate 2 years? I mean, what do you think of Nick Walker? Meaning, not personally, I'm not asking about that, but what I mean is, he's up there like with the Hardy and the Derek and obviously the Samson, but he's just not made the starting line. He's got close to get there and it tips over. Do you think he's a threat coming through? We haven't seen the best.
Yeah, it's a long layoff, right? He won his last competition he competed in. And like myself, he wound up missing a Mr. Olympia due to headspace. He had some mental issues, right? He got hurt with his hamstring and he had to miss a contest. Now his mental health isn't right. I missed a show. I was younger than him when I missed my second Mr. Olympia opportunity, or a classic opportunity. But this mental health thing is a real thing for some of these bodybuilders. Back in the day, we didn't have that either. You shit or get off the pot, right? Closed mouths don't get fed. Do the work. Compete because you want to, and if you don't want to, shut up and go away. But now you can announce that you're competing, and then announce that you're not competing, and then you explain it away, and you have your support team. You have other people calling you a pussy. You just sometimes make matters worse when you try to suck the universe into what you're doing. Shut up and train. You're going to compete, great. I'll buy a ticket. I'll come and watch. But if you're not going to compete, I don't want to hear the reasons why. I'd rather talk about the guys on stage. Kai Green was a master at prolonging his career because he kept making people think he's going to come back and compete again. And he did it for like 3 years. And finally it got to a point where it's like, why are we talking about someone that's not going to be on the stage? So Nick Walker just has to get on stage, do what he does, and shut people up and pick up where he left off. Otherwise, what are we talking about?
Did Phil Heath and Kai Green really not like each other?
Well, listen, they're both fighting for the same real estate. I didn't like Flex Wheeler, but
That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. Who else didn't get on?
Did Muhammad Ali hate Joe Frazier, or did Joe Frazier really hate Ali? You got to have this disdain for these guys. I didn't like Dorian Yates either, but dude, he's as cool as the other side of the pillow. You can't. This is such an individual sport that you can't drag people in there with you. I see today some of these bodybuilders trying to be friends. It looks manufactured. Flex Wheeler slept at my house. He ate at my house. He traveled the world with me. He helped me move in my very first apartment. But at some point it was like, you know what? I can't like you the way I like you and try to beat you. So you're my enemy. So I did everything I could do to get under his skin. But when it was all over, the contest is over. I might have been a dick at times. He was a dick at times too. So this is a physique contest, but it's also a psychological contest. And not everybody can handle the psychology part. especially the fans and some of the family members and some of the coaches. They can't relate to that.
Yeah, no, I've noticed that. Well, look, we'll go over the body. We'll come to the end, and then we'll promote all your promotions, the companies, advertisers, sponsors, everything that's there. So I'm going to say a body part. All I need is one exercise, sets and reps. That's it. One exercise, sets and reps. Okay. So traps.
Well, everything on my body, I went in looking at 4 exercises, 12 to 15 repetitions, all ascending sets. And each set's heavier than the next. But I did 4 sets, 12 to 15. That was my regime. Okay. That was pretty much, that was it.
All right, so you don't have to, you won't need to say that.
Yes, only when I didn't do 4 exercises on with my calves. I only did 2 most of the time.
I'm still trying to grow my calves. Traps, what would you do for traps?
Shrugs, dumbbell shrugs, upright rows.
Okay. We're going delts, rear delts.
Yeah, well, bent over or standing rear delts, lateral raise, lateral.
Middle delts, side delts.
No, I didn't do any of the front raises. I just side delts. I just side laterals.
Okay, and all right then, back.
It's all on my Build with Pros.
Yeah,
website.
We're going to go there. We're going to Build with Pros.
Guys, listen, here's the thing. All the tools that are available for back, I did deadlifts. I did barbell rows. I did dumbbell rows. I did pull downs. I did chin ups. There's nothing that I thought wasn't beneficial to my back. Like I didn't say, I'm not doing that. That's a back exercise. Of course I'm doing it. But I was a stickler mostly for dead weight. The dead weight came before the machines. Like granted, I had to do the pull downs on the machines, but I would start doing the dumbbells and the barbells first. I always did machines last.
Machines last dumbbell. Okay, what about chest?
Yes, I did everything you could do. Flies, upper pecs, lower pecs. There's no secret.
What about a bicep?
Yeah. Barbell curls, dumbbell curls, cable curls. Listen, if there were tools of bodybuilding, you got to get to them. I train twice a day sometimes, 6 days a week.
What was twice a day?
I didn't do.
Everyone was too afraid to. Everyone did twice a day. What did you do twice a day?
Well, I'd go in there and I'd do my chest. I'd come back later on. I'd do my back. I go in there, I do my arms. I come back and do my shoulders. I go and do my hamstrings. Come back and do my thighs. I was a professional bodybuilder, so my training was my job. But guess what? They would take me 45 minutes to an hour max.
Yep.
And it was better when I go twice a day because then I can go home and rest and I could eat. I wasn't punching a clock. I didn't go to a 9 to 5. What I have to do? I was a bodybuilder. I grow when I eat and sleep and rest. I go to the gym so I can sculpt and build. So if I go in the gym and I do my quads, it takes me a half an hour. It's better than going in there trying to do 2 hours of legs. Yeah, it's only half an hour for squats, leg press, and deadlifts or hamstrings.
What about the emphasis of glutes? Was glutes emphasized, training glutes back then?
Not specifically. I mean, I did stiff-legged deadlifts, but I didn't do like glute exercise. I did lunges.
Yeah, but okay. Well, how about promote yourselves? Tell us about your companies, your businesses, your federations, your competition.
I've only
sponsors.
been with one federation, right? I was the NPC national champion. Then I became an IFBB Pro. Eventually, the IFBB Pro was bought out by the IFBB Pro League in 2004, I believe it was. And working with Jake Wood and the Olympia committee as a consultant, I helped bring in sponsors and athletes and organize the Olympia Expo, as well as market and promote mutant nutrition products all over the world. We're over 100 countries with the products.
Are you in Australia?
We are not in Australia, and there's a lot of people not in Australia because your import rules are just way too complex. There's things that your country doesn't allow us to bring in, which is the problem. And that's true with Canada and other places, but we're in over 100. And I also work with Panada, and we'll have our first appearance at the Arnold Classic this March coming up with the gym equipment. And I brought in with Lee Haney. He's also got his own line that they're launching, a signature series line. Of course, the Shawn Ray Classic goes back to the convention center, not a high school, not a hall, but the Hawaii Convention Center in Honolulu, November the 15th. That's also a pro-am competition out there, which is also a national qualifier as well.
Sugar?
Shawn Ray. My email address, sugarshawnray@gmail.
Just quickly, you owned a Ferrari?
Huh?
You owned a Ferrari?
I owned a Ferrari and a Lamborghini. That's pretty much it. I had Porsche, Mercedes. I've had all the cars. Now I ride a bicycle because I got 2 teenagers at home. So
which was your favorite car?
I drive a Tesla.
Which was your favorite car?
Well, I mean, I was always into cars, man, but I really love the Diablo because that's the dream car that you never think that you could
Oh,
own.
the Diablo.
Yeah, I had a Diablo VT,
The
and
Lamborghini Diablo. You know, they say the Diablo, right? The word Diablo. If you say it in Greek, it's called Diaolo. And Diaolo in Greek means devil.
yeah, it also means devil in Spanish. So
Oh.
I named my dog Diablo. Before I had my car in 1992, I had a dog, a Chow Chow, named it Diablo because I was driving a Ferrari, but I didn't think I'd ever get the Diablo. So I got a dog and named it Diablo. And in 1999, I finally got that Diablo and I kept it for 2 years. And then I got out of it and got married and had kids. That's what happens.
Do you wish you had the Diablo still?
No, listen, here's the thing. Sometimes once you had it, that longing of what you missed is gone. You know, like Mike Tyson says, you know what? I'm no longer Mike Tyson, the boxer. That was another me. That was a different life. I want to be Mike Tyson, the father. I want to be Mike Tyson, the human. I want to be me. That was another life. My bodybuilding was my persona, my outlook as a single male in my prime, winning shows, traveling the world, being John Brown 2.0. That's not who I am. That's who I was. And once you kind of had it, you realize you don't miss it. And you also realize you don't need it. But man, the chase to get there and then conquer it and actually have it, open my garage and fire that thing up. And you know what it sounds like. You know what it smells like. And to be able to park it in front of the grocery store and pull up to the gym and pull up to the nightclub. I mean, all of that was a reflection of my dedication to bodybuilding. There was never a day that I fired that car up and didn't think how grateful I was to choose the sport of bodybuilding and to work as hard as I did to afford to put me in that position. Wow. Some people will never even touch a Lamborghini Diablo, let alone ever own a Diablo. Bodybuilding did that for me. It was a time and a place. And at my age, I'm just happy to be able to still be walking and driving the car that I got, because that is definitely a bachelor car and it served its purpose very well.
Well, look, I'm going to try to come to America, get a Diablo, pick you up, and we're going to the clubs. And I'm gonna go to the DJ. I'm gonna go to the DJ.
I got gas in the tank.
I'm gonna go to the DJ. I'm gonna write down. I got Shawn Ray. Man. I'm gonna write down. I said, listen, give us 10 minutes. We're just gonna go near the bar, and then I want the strobe. Hey. I want the strobe to hit Shawn Ray. I want it to hit him. So when you announce it, and then make him clear the room. And then
some things you just cannot replicate, bro. We were there.
Come on.
Yeah, there's a time and a season, man. Some things we'll never get back. And like the 8-track tape, it ain't coming back.
No. Well, Shawn, thank you for blessing us and me and giving us your time. Like, really, this is incredible. Like, we started this 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago. I started training at 18 years old. I never competed, not because I competed for certain events, marriages, my kid's birth, turning 30, 40. I waxed my body. I leaned up. I bulked up. I even did a cycle at 49. First time I ever did a cycle. I did it twice.